Welcome back to the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. I am Inquisitor Temperance Pryce, keeper of the Inquisition's Black Library, and this is the second volume in a report on the Valentyne Heresy, an actual play podcast set in the Genesys Adaptation of Warhammer 40k's Dark Heresy RPG. This report features Game Master Ryan LaPlante and players Tom McGee as Interrogator Nero Abagnale, Laura Elizabeth as Piper Fairley, Tyler Hewitt as Seth Corbyn, and Del Borovic as Sister Olianne Mina. My report shows that the Inquisitorial band apprised Gazzy Colon of their plan. Seth intimated to Gazzy that the Inquisition's activities were more important than planetary politics. Olianne arranged for weapons to be stashed at the ball, and Piper's alterations will require her psyker powers to convince anyone that she's Rancid. Can the band find the son or daughter of Fabius Bile amidst the chaos of the heist? Find out next in this episode of the Valentyne Heresy.
From a captured pre-battle conversation of Fabius Bile. We are surgeons, not savages. The scalpel, not the sword. This is what you were made for, my dear. And you, in some ways, in a slight parallel with some members of Homo Novus, have chosen, rather than being the hammer that will smash down on this heist, to be the scalpel, to be the trick, to be the sneaky element of this entire thing, driving forwards to the Citadel at the center of the Dominion Omnium Protohive. Now, there are two vehicles, because there are two parts of this adventure. One, which is taking Piper, now a flesh-covered governor monster, to be hidden within the Citadel, and the others to become much more conspicuous. However, all four of you, meaning Nero, Seth, Mina, and Warden, are intended to be part of the party who will be attending the ball which begins the heist inside the Citadel. Are all of you going to go and install Piper before joining the party? Do you want to send one of you to do that and the others to walk in the front door? You hadn't had a chance to discuss this part of your plan, so I'm imagining now would be the time.
I think Seth would want to go with Piper. Just because it's basically, largely it was like his original idea, and he was speaking with Gazzy about this. So I think Seth would want to go and make sure that there's a good handoff.
Yeah, I mean, you are also the House Cologne team, so it would not be weird for you to be there already. Like, you could get away with that, no problem.
I think Mina would also go, even though she knows Seth is pissed at her, but because she would want to be sure that their weapons and stuff are stashed in the correct areas and not have to be asking about that in front of people, that kind of thing.
Fabulous.
I would absolutely go through the front door. Since Nero's on distraction duty anyway, it makes sense. This is just another element he can play as him not understanding a plan to the outside world. If everyone else shows up together later and he's just there early, he can be mad about it and make a stink. So I think that all tracks with him. And also, like, realistically, he's not the sneaky guy. Like, he's not going to go stash weapons.
Excellent.
It's a terrible idea for everyone involved.
So the big fancy celebratory limousine will just contain Nero, and the armored, I guess the armored Torox will contain the other three of you to go do the drop off. And then that can be done inconspicuously, so you don't have to worry about trying to like hide and trade off vehicles.
Nice.
It'll be there at the time you guys need to be able to head out with it. Also, with a giant Inquisition symbol on it, there's not really a question of whose car it is if it pulls up later.
I forgot.
So the first vehicle to arrive will be the Torox, simply because they don't have to wait through all the traffic that requires to get up the line into the front area of the Citadel to be welcomed inside. There is a series of security-based valets, essentially, where they're checking the vehicles for weapons, they're checking the occupants for weapons, and allowing them inside the party. Nero, you're not worried about this. You know from the heist rules that you'll be able to hang on to the weapons that you have on you because you're part of a team. And theoretically, legally, teams could shoot each other in the party. They just can't shoot anyone else legally, which is why it's considered high risk. So you have an awkward wait in your vehicle, just sitting in a limo. There's Amasec. There's a variety of other liqueurs and low-level intoxicants. If you wanted to partake, I leave that entirely up to you.
I think I would definitely have a steadying Amersec, feeling, again, generally better about the world, having talked to Space Dad. But also just the looming existential crisis around the whole template thing still fully unresolved for him, and having had no time to really think about it, being alone in this limo is actually kind of hell. So I think he's just going to start sipping on it and maybe make idle small talk with the person driving.
Fabulous.
But that's just how he'll spend the entire time pretty much until everyone else arrives.
Yeah. The person you end up talking with, we don't need to go through the conversation because I'll tell you now, they don't have any information you want. But it's one of Eve Nuln's nephews.
Right.
So he's actually, now that he knows you're the Inquisition, he has the same level of enthusiasm about the Inquisition that Eve does. He basically thinks you're an Imperial servant above reproach. So talking to you is kind of like talking to, for probably Jesus. Like that's probably where he sees an Inquisitor on the scale of things. So he'll be personable. And I don't know whether that'd calm your nerves or freak you out, but that's what you get over the course of the chat.
Yeah, I feel like he'll just be me leaning through the window being like, hey, yeah, that's great. Hey, listen, tell me about your dreams. And just like, let him go.
What the fuck? Jesus.
Yeah, except he's in confessional, so it's super excited in response. Meanwhile, around the back of the Citadel, the Taurox is welcomed through a side gate and through a number of winding passageways around the Citadel. You'd all recognize this path as leading to the back door that you had all exited out of the first time that you had visited. Waiting for you actually is Gazzy and Truncheon Cranius, who, Mina, you're the only person who would recognize Truncheon Cranius. He is wearing the same uniform you'd seen on security before, only with a fancier helmet and fancier all around. The two of them just wave you in with Piper. Mina, I'm imagining because you're the strong person that you would be pushing this giant fleshy monstrosity in a wheelchair, because it is a manual wheelchair. This is like the ones that you see for elderly people now. It is not terribly fancy other than the outfit. Gazzy gestures you all into the elevator that leads straight up to his apartments in the beginning. He's like, well, you got the outfit. That's kind of decent, actually. I managed to replicate that.
Excellent. Well done.
So who's in that?
This would be our psyker, Piper.
Oh, my emperor. Is this reversible?
Chapet.
Save your strength, Piper.
It's like shrugs.
Pat her on the head.
It's so hard to talk in this thing.
We have been told it is indeed reversible.
Okay.
The hope here is that Piper can retain her psyker abilities should she need them.
Oh, so she can convince someone that she actually is my father instead of this. He just says, pointing up and down awkwardly. He's out of Piper's line of sight, but Piper, you have the ability to know what's going on, so him subtly being not impressed with you would be very clear.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, well, I'm not going to talk a lot, so I'm just going to talk as much as I can, and then... She just freaking hates the way her voice sounds. It's just fuck.
Right.
Gazzy is... I would say today has clearly shaken Gazzy's faith in the Inquisition over this whole thing, but he's committed now. When you
Him
arrive
and me both.
when you arrive at the top of the elevator, you're escorted out. You're escorted out. He takes you through the passageway again. I would say you could try to memorize it, but frankly, Piper is such a mess that it's taking all of you to be able to move this awful wheelchair through this environment.
This is a hallway of mirrors too, right?
Yeah, this is the whole
hallway.
We
can't not look at her.
Oh God, it's everywhere. Oh no. Nero thought he was in hell, but no.
Piper, can you roll me either a resilience or a cool?
I'll roll a cool, I think.
All right. Let's roll a cool. It'll be at difficulty 3.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a setback because the mirror. This is your ability to not go crazy looking at what you actually look like in the mirrors as you go through.
Sorry,
everyone else is horrified, but there are dangers to you losing your mind in this suit. Difficulty 3. I will give you a setback. A setback because your heart would be pounding. You are powering a body.
Sorry, 2 setbacks now?
Yeah, so 2 setbacks.
Okay.
Yeah, one because the heart strain would be freaking you out, and the second because you can't not look at you. It was easier everywhere else, but here it is disgusting.
What's our story point situation?
You have 1 and I have 4.
Okay.
So I'm not going to use a story point on this one.
That's nice. Thank you.
I would have given you back to you one elsewhere. So it's really, there's no winning. I will give you a boost because you volunteered for this.
Yeah.
And I think I'll give you a second boost because you are a trained psyker, so you're used to putting yourself in psychologically uncomfortable territory.
Yes.
It's not physically comfortable to use psyker powers. And you've probably, over the course of your work with the Inquisition, had to face off with people who are cult aligned, which is sort of like trying to do a puzzle while a demon stabs you in the back.
Yeah.
So you've had challenges.
For sure. Okay. let's oh dear. Hey, holy shit. 5 successes, 2 threats.
Nice.
Wow.
You still look as bad as always. And Gazzy is still not believing you can pull this off. However, I will say from this point onwards, with 5 successes, you no longer will have to test to see if you can resist being horrified by your body. Seeing it steals you to your mission rather than driving you further away from it.
Yeah, I do think kind of like this is because Piper grew up in a death world, there was just so much like illness and deformity and just people not doing well health-wise that she's just seen a lot. So I think it probably doesn't bother her as much as it might someone else.
Totally reasonable. So you're wheeled through the rest of the maze and brought out into a side room that's next to the central elevator that you had come up before. So this is an antechamber. There are elaborate hangings on the walls that you can see made of cloth in the house cologne color purple. There are statues and vases, all of them garishly gold, but spread around the edges. In the center of the room, it has been emptied. It's just a hardwood floor stretching from front to back. So your wheelchair is wheeled to the center of the space and locked off, giving you essentially the feeling of a throne in an attending room. And Gazzy looks to Seth and says, once I get my dad out of there with the distraction, we can bring them up here. I'll have him somewhere else, and they can come into this room and meet with Rancid, he says, just looking at Piper clearly uncomfortably. I'm imagining we want to do the trade-off when whoever steals the thing gets back to the building so that there's no risk of a last-minute handoff fouling this?
Yes, that would be prudent, yes.
All right, so if you need to go early, give me that thigh tap and sign. Otherwise, I'll just wait until somebody's coming through semi-victoriously, and we'll deal with that right at the gate.
Good, yes. Well done, Gazzy.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions, concerns, wars you started? He says, looking at Mina incredibly unhappily.
Mina does not meet his gaze, doesn't look at him. She's just waiting for him to be done so she could talk to the other guy.
Piper says, Can I get some water? Water.
Yes,
Water?
and that'll be the last we hear out of you, won't that? Isn't that right, Piper?
Sure.
You're Rancid from here on in. Understood.
What? Why did you just call me Piper then?
Give me the water. He's like very, because I'm assuming she's not in any physical shape to grasp and drink it herself.
Correct.
Okay.
Gazzy crosses over to one of the hanging curtains and pulls it forwards, revealing behind it a mini bar setup, which includes water with a large straw.
Yeah.
And he brings it over to the wheelchair, moves Piper's arm very unceremoniously, and just wedges the giant water in between her elbow and her body, and puts this straw in her mouth.
Excellent.
He's clearly comfortable moving an oversized fleshy body to give someone what they need.
Right.
And he's like, all right.
It's definitely like dribbling down too.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it's like, like Denethor and is it Return of the King or the
Yes,
Two Towers? When he's like eating like the fruit and stuff and it's got all like the dribbling. It's like that, but with water.
Oh.
Yeah. So your Zardoz bodysuit is getting wetted in a way that really shows off your weird muscles in the light of the room. Candlelight. That's the classiest kind of light in these environments. And the rest of you are taken to, there are 2 of you, are taken out of the room to the elevator that's leading down to the central floor. So there is a moment for you to be able to talk to Truncheon, Mina, if you want to, on this elevator. but Gazzy will be overhearing unless you signal to Seth to have a chat with Gazzy.
Is Warden still with us?
Warden is with you. He's just coming down the stairs. He's accepted this as part of the party.
I do want to share some information with Warden, given that he's taking on a good amount of risk being behind the wheel in our armored car, out like pretending to heist.
Great. You can do that silently here because you guys will be doing essentially tap speaking.
Yeah, great. Yeah,
I would argue if you have something you want to say to the governor and talk to Warden at the same time, it'd be a roll, but you seem to be the character who would be capable of doing that, which is tapping a message to one person while having a different conversation.
Oh, yeah. It also helps not being able to trace my eye line anymore. That really helps. And I basically just signaled to Warden the information that I gleaned from my picked fly. I explained to him that Lucia Bain appears to have called in a favor with the Navy. Watch out for, and I started listing like, watch out for, steer clear of like possible bombardments. If you see Navy vessels, steer clear kind of thing. Stay safe and come back to us. Obviously, since it's all gestures, there's like no inflection of like care for his well-being or anything like that. These are just words like maybe being read by an emotionless robot. Yeah.
Great. He just signed back understood.
Yeah.
Warden is very much a blank slate in a lot of ways. He serves his purpose, and when his purpose isn't protecting Piper, it's just whatever he's been told it is by the Inquisition team.
Yeah.
He's very reliable, but he has almost no ingenuity. You know, his greatest strength is his greatest weakness.
Right.
Mina, did you want to say anything to Trench and Cranius, or are you waiting until you can get him fully alone?
Yeah, I think she's going to wait. She's not going to risk pissing Gazzy off further. So I think whenever they all split up, she could just grab him or, talk to him solo.
Yeah. The elevator hits the bottom after Seth has had his conversation and everyone else has had this tense moment of waiting. And you exit out heading towards the ballroom, the same room at the beginning of your Delectamenti Mortem adventure. But you do have a moment to pull Trench and Cranius aside. It's not you're all going to be announced when you enter. This is a big party. You can hear it from here. It's clear that this is more of a Met Gala style reception than a small, somber viewing party.
Yeah, so she's definitely going to just like take his arm and just slow their walk so everyone else goes forward, and then just be like, Sir Cranius, I just wanted to ask you that those things that we spoke about before, where might I find them?
Yeah, I've got that last cannon for you right by the front door. Realize everybody in this hallway works for me, right? And you look around the hallway and see a line of troopers in Cologne colors, one every 15 to 20 feet, all studiously not looking at you at all, just staring straight ahead. He's like, yeah, I trained all these fuckers. We're fine.
Well, all right. I'm just trying to be extra cautious now.
All right, let's whisper then.
Thank
I got
you.
that last cannon. It's by the front door.
Yes, and the uniforms.
Yep, front door.
Front door,
well, it's like a cloakroom.
It?
I kind of put a lot of them around. If you want to come back here, you can just take them off. I don't know, that guy. And he just points at one. Or he's like, or there's a cloakroom by the front. So if you're heading towards the door, you can just duck aside.
Perfect. Thank you very much. You are incredibly useful, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. You needed to smuggle your own people in or something, right?
Sort of, yes.
Or do you just want us to store your clothes?
Yeah, we're going to just swap clothes, I think. Yes.
All right, well, then have him meet you in the coat room.
Perfect. We'll definitely do that.
Do you need another last cannon? He says really loudly.
She's just stood up slowly. Thank you for all of your hard work, Emperor bless. And, if I need that, I will tell you.
Excellent. It's going to be a house war. Let's do this. And he will take your arm very gentlemanly and begin escorting you towards the party.
Wonderful.
Meanwhile, at the front, Nero, your grav car has arrived. You exit out. These are it's a large grand staircase leading up to the entrance. As you go, you can see other people are being more directly scanned and handled on their way inside. Between the fact that everyone knows you're Inquisition and you're clearly a member of the heist crew for this building's house, you just get to skate past all of it. You don't have to play any of these bullshit games. When you get to the top, there's a small hallway lined with servants, all of whom are offering drinks, other intoxicants along the way. As you go down, you then get to enter the grand ballroom, which is the same ballroom from the Delectamenti Mortem, only it has been elaborately decorated. There are torches along the walls, but instead of fire, they clearly have the equivalent of LEDs in them, just spraying light upwards. There are hanging banners everywhere. It seems like they're celebrating everything that has ever been given to the system all at the same time. They come down to about 10 feet over your head. They're varying heights, of course, and varying designs. The majority of them are in House Cologne colors, just because, as you know, House Cologne has been running the system for a dramatically long period of time. There are symbols with the cogwheel of the Mechanicum. You can see the symbols of the Adeptus Mercantile. All of the major bodies appear to have given awards to this at some point. You can also see symbols of the High Lords on Terra, which is a bigger deal for you because it just implies that the prom in the system is actually highly, highly valuable in a way that people who matter are noticing. There are only like 10 people in the Imperium who matter and nothing else does, but somehow they've noticed this system. You do have some time. The other party is about to arrive, but you have a moment in advance. Every person you've ever bumped into is here, along with clearly factional groups from all of the major Imperial factions, as well as all of the houses. You can see the house leaders wandering through the crowd. It appears the house leader theme, as you can see at this time, is tux and tails, but no pants. They're all wearing the equivalent of a house-colored Speedo, but at the top, it is the tuxedo jackets with tails, the full bow tie dress vest, but just Speedo on the outside and nothing on their legs. All the house leaders are also barefoot, which seems at first insane, and then the follow-up thought is, ooh, that's actually a real statement of power because they've had to do so much decoration and quick work around here that it implies that they are so confident that they will not be injured that you know there are a bunch of panicking servants running around with brooms, terrified they'll go into the wrong corridor.
Okay.
The rest of the crowd are dressed up in a variety of evening wear. They're clearly on the fancy side. A few daring people are not wearing pants to try to match the house leaders, but the ones who do, they have the same crowd reaction that when we would go to prom and it would be the two guys who show up wearing the Dumb and Dumber things, and it's like their two friends think it's cool, and everybody else is like, I'm going to stay about 10 feet away from this person because I don't want to be in those photos.
I'll just have to imagine what that could be. I definitely didn't wear a monocle and a top hat to my prom. So.
Yay!
Okay. So Nero's Mechanicus cogs are turning, but he also doesn't want to pooch this thing before it gets up and going. So I think he's going to make a big show of observing his own pants and suddenly being horrified. Because again, the goal here is as distracting as possible. So I think immediately it's like walks in, cape flittering out behind his back, just like full like badass like fucking trench coat deckard in Blade Runner, like stepping in dramatically, playing up the Inquisition piece as well. Like, I am here, look at me, like I'm Mr. Meeseeks, look at me. And then I'll stop and look down at my pants, and just immediately, just the full face falls, and just like, oh god, oh, Emperor's foot. No one, not a. And I'll just like grab whoever's closest and just be, not a single person told me that this was the dress code that we were expecting tonight, that we were, and I put these pants on like a fool. And I'll just start like yelling to people across the room, being like, hey, did you know about the pants? And just like drinking aggressively. I'm actually taking very small sips, but taking a lot of them very quickly, just to justify the future actions I intend to take. And also just like, I feel like Nero wears tight pants. Like, I think it's, he's ever since his days at Ventus, he always, he likes being slick. So he is going to be like plucking at the hem and like doing that awkward like shuffle dance where he's like trying to adjust his underwear, just like clearly very uncomfortable and frustrated. We'll also try to make introductions, but he's also just trying to buy time, because he doesn't he doesn't want to shit the bed before Seth gets here. So it's a lot of like, I'll join the party in a second. I gotta like start rolling them up and turn them into capris, and it looks worse, and just like rolling them back down, and just like having a real time.
Yeah, the average party guests seem to be very pleased that you are wanting to say hi, but also not doing so. They seem relieved to do that, and you realize you may have some pretty good luck at being able to just draw attention, but not have to pay too much of a price for it. However, Invictus is in the crowd. You are one of the few people who will have a conversation with Invictus. So he walks up from the distance and says,
"Ah, yes, I see. Well, you don't have to take your pants off. It's mainly a thing for the house leaders. There were a number of years where the crown was smuggled in by a leader themselves, so you may notice. No pockets,"
he says, pointing at them with their no-pants outfits. And when you look, you can see their tailcoats are billowing as they wander around the room. They're very light, and they're wider than you would have suggested. So you can see underneath, their vests and other clothing is incredibly fitted. There is no way they could be hiding any artifact of any size on themselves.
And I'll nod and say, yeah, that's a clever ploy. But unfortunately, Invictus, as you can see, and I'll point to my unnecessarily tight pants, be like, I let, that old chaos god Pride really got to me today. So here I am in my tight heresy pants. I couldn't smuggle anything in these anyway. And then I kind of like gesture generally at my groinular region, be like these don't hide anything. I couldn't. Anyway, it's fine. Thank you. I
quite
appreciate
the fruit basket you have there.
Thank you. That means a lot coming from you. Wow. Okay. So that's exciting news, though. And how about you? I know we've kind of, I'll like look around and say, definitely haven't involved you in any way, shape, or form, other than my own personal property, which is involved. But what do you normally do with these things?
I stand around and observe for heresy. Also, I'm generally ignored, so I eat a lot of food.
Hey, that's, and I'll like put a hand on his shoulder. Given that I'm a little more grounded right now, the effect of him is definitely it's more there than it was before. At the same time, I feel like Nero has always been, the friend of anyone he can be. So still like just only a minor eye twitch as I do it. And I'll be like, well, Victus, I don't think that's very fair. You're a learned man. You know things that all these folks, they could never even learn. They don't even know they exist. But you do. You're an interesting fellow. And I don't think it's very fair that these people don't give you the time of day. I think it's time they meet Invictus. I think it's time every single person in this room meets you, bud. And then I will put an arm around his shoulder, and realizing that he is the greatest possible distraction, I'm going to drive him around this party like a stinky golf cart and make everyone deal with him.
As you were talking to people, let's do a die roll for this. This is just kind of fun. This is some mayhem, and I want to know how it goes. This feels like, oh man. What does this feel like to you on a skill roll? Because this is a weird one that doesn't fall into an easy category. So I'm willing to negotiate.
I would take this as probably cool, I think.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Just because it's selling a thing that he knows is bullshit, but trying to sell it earnestly. Because if it doesn't come off at a Ted Lasso level of earnestness, it won't work. So there's an element of deception, but he is also legitimately just introducing a man to other people. So there's not.
Yeah, I would say cool or skullduggery if you wanted it to be that you're like using cunning to try to fool people with your genuine performance.
Honestly, again, I'm not a sneaky guy. My ploys have to be close to the heart and honest, or else they just don't fly. And also, legitimately, he is the only Horesian scholar I've ever met. So like, I mean what I say about that. Now, I don't want to go around telling everyone about Horus, because that's more him and me inside voices conversation. I'm learning. But as a chaosician, like he legitimately is more interesting to Nero as like a citizen of the galaxy than any of these fuckos. So yeah, it's an honest statement, but also with a little bit of ploy. So I'm gonna go with cool. What's the difficulty, sir?
I will say difficulty 3.
Yep.
You are using him to distract. Normally, he has 2 setback automatically given on any social check, but you are using him as a distraction shield, so those will become 2 boost for you.
Mm-hmm.
And there is also a setback given to anyone who interacts with him positively in public for anyone else they see talking to him. which would mean if you were trying to win anybody over, I would give you that setback. Only you're trying to get them to not like you but notice you, so that'll be another boost. You get 3 boosts for the fact that he is the most dislikable man ever.
Great.
Represented by, as you walk him around, he is taking food off of the plates of people you're talking to and taking their drinks out of their hand and sipping from them.
Yeah, and the whole time, just like hand on shoulder, like, isn't that great? Look at that. You just took that food right up. Ow. What a guy. All right, and rolling them bones. All right, 2 success, 3 advantage. I'm a very social boy.
All right, I am going to say save the advantage, so make a note. You will have 3 advantage to spend on your checks to make a big scene to allow your friends to escape, because that'll be the heat you've picked up over time. People have noticed and seem to think you're wasted. They think you're drinking the amount you're trying to portray that you're drinking because they don't believe there's any other way you could be handling this man. And Invictus is basically destroying anyone's plans, even if they try to talk to you about politics or rope you into something. The only person who seems to be able to put up with him at all is Chastener Bo-Katan. He doesn't seem to react to Invictus differently than anyone else. And you quickly realize it's because Chastener Bo-Katan feels about everyone in the room the way they feel about Invictus. Like, Invictus is just dead center of, I hate all of these people and they make me sick.
Yeah.
That's it. You would avoid the house leaders. I think they don't have an active interest in you at this point. That could have changed if there was, Triumph or Despair. But no, you did the smart thing and just avoided them for now. At which point, the rest of the party enters. Seth, you are the first person to enter in behind Gazzy. Seth, it's the first time you've seen the transformation of Gazzy, and you realize his security people, at least the ones chosen by Truncheon, must be trustworthy because he walked past them in the hallway without putting the character on.
Right.
Whereas 5 steps before the room, you can see in each step he just layers on out of balance, wasted, stupider. Like, it's every step just takes the physicality until he strolls through looking like an absolute insane person. And as he steps out, he rips off his pants and his robe top until he's just in a Speedo. And he just yells, "Yes, it's time for the heist! Get those teams out there! Woo!" And he grabs 2 drinks from the nearest party member. Not somebody, just a servant. He's just grabbing drinks off of people, and he's downing those left, right, and center. You and Mina enter, along with Warden. Truncheon immediately peels off. Mina just say, "Pardon me." The words and the tone are genteel, but he cannot talk quieter than that. And he just goes to follow Gazzy. You can see in the distance there is a raised stage. You don't see Rancid yet. You would assume that he is backstage, going to be wheeled out for whenever this thing starts, because that seems to be the history of what has happened here. You can see all of the figures that you would recognize. So again, you can see every major leader. I won't run down all the names, but everybody you've met at a dinner, everybody you've had political interactions with. Can you roll me, Seth, a perception?
Yes.
Because you've had the longest time to... You're not distracted by truncheon or conversation, so you have the best shot at taking in the environment. Difficulty 2.
Perception. There we go.
I will use a story point to make it a little harder. So one of your 2 difficulty will be a red.
Okay. Any setback or boost?
I'll give you a boost because you aren't having to face what you'd normally face going into this environment, which is taking in the whole crowd because they're looking at you, because Gazzy is such a train wreck that they all have just immediately watched him or are turning to themselves to mock him. So you've got a moment of calm to be able to take in the space.
Okay. 4 successes, 1 advantage.
Great. The crowds are pretty tightly packed. It doesn't seem like all the houses are mingling, but you can't spot the teams. There's no one obviously standing out in this environment. However, when you look into the wings, you can see that there are multiple doors that will allow people to enter the space. And in front of 4 of them are podiums that are nearly 6 feet tall with small sets of stairs rolling up to them. If you look it down, you got enough successes, you can do this. You can see that they're wheeled, It is very likely, you would guess, that when the teams are introduced, each team will be put on a podium and wheeled forwards in a spotlight scenario so everyone can understand exactly who is there. So you don't have to go and announce yourselves. Odds are you will be announced and then have to reveal yourselves. You have a moment if you want to approach anyone for any political reasons. Otherwise, you can just wait it out.
Well, I think before they get in, Mina's following Seth, and she's going to like tap him on the arm and then tap out on her chest because she can't tell if he's actually looking at her.
Yep.
But she's going to tap out just like the weapons and disguises are in the room, the coat check by the front door, basically. The information she got, so he has that. So if they get separated, he knows where to go.
Okay. And just like Warden, you get tap back. Understood.
Yeah.
Great. Seth, you're in charge of this mission. So is there something you want to do? You can see on each of the podiums, there is a splash of color and a diamond on the front. So you can spot the purple podium, which is clearly meant for the Cologne team. Also, Nero is clearly wandering around the party with Invictus, looking absolutely hammered, which you succeeded enough. You can tell he's not drunk. You've seen Nero drunk and cowardly. This is Nero putting on an act to get a lot of attention. Okay. You could flag him over there. You could head there directly. At the same time, you can see people that you've dealt with directly. Pettis Fetidum is there. Invictus has clearly arrived. Ignatius Ironforth is here as a pleasant surprise. There's also Chastener Bo-Katan, the Chief Astropath, the Major, Vicar Estevez is among the crowd. Mina, they're every major player in the system, as far as you can tell, is here.
I think spotting those podiums, no, I don't think there's anyone that I want to approach just now. It's a funny thing of like, things appear to be going okay. I want to like focus in on the task at hand and not necessarily risk anything by opening myself up to become socially vulnerable to anyone looking to exert some kind of blackmail or force or favor over me. We've got things kind of going the way we want to right now. So it's kind of like a don't talk to me until this is over kind of mentality for Seth.
Great. You hear a small trill of trumpets from an outside room. It filters through the whole ballroom, so you'd hear this as well, Nero. And a voice just rings out saying, "All teams to their podiums! All teams to their podiums!" You can all see clearly from the light which podiums you're being directed to. There is a purple Cologne one, so you will all head over to that. It is the furthest from the stage. Essentially, if you're looking at the room, the stage is at the far end. We'll call that north. South is out onto the veranda, the balcony, where you've done the hunting before. And then equidistant, creating essentially a square in the center of the space. There are the four podiums: northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest. You guys are southeast, so you're closest to the door in and out of the space. From that direction. There are a lot of doors. It's a big building. Meanwhile, though, upstairs, Piper, for the first time, you have been left alone in the citadel of the governor of this world. You are trapped in your body, but due to a series of successes in your general mental fortitude, you're much less trapped than any other party member would be because you have psychic abilities. Is there anything you would want to do in terms of, I don't even know all the abilities you have. I'll be straight up about that.
Yeah.
But is there anything you would want to do in terms of checking out your environment? Is there anything else you would want to do? Knowing that you have all the house leaders in this building, you have all the major players in this building. They're not on top of you, but they're not half a world away.
Yeah.
You would also know there are security people on this floor if there's just stuff you want to try to skim about anything.
Yeah.
Directly.
I think I think I would like to, in essence, I'm not even sure if I can do this.
Well, pitch it, because you probably can.
To basically give a slight nudge, the slightest of nudges at the minds that are kind of going in and around as they get, close to me. Mm-hmm. Whether it's below me or in the room, whether it's guards or whatever. And
I just want to look out for if there's anyone who is consumed with thoughts that are not related to their job at hand.
All right, yeah, let's roll for that, because you are in the position that you're in. There wouldn't be anybody on the floor directly below you, but there would be guards walking and kind of guarding the hallway directly outside where you are.
Mhm.
You have as much security as the governor would at this point.
Mhm.
You're in a secure location. You know the elevators to get here are tricky. They also can't afford for anybody to see you without there being major blowback.
Yeah.
But with the guards wandering by, yeah, let's see if you can skim something. What's the usual check?
So I think this would kind of be like mind scan light.
Okay.
You know, because I'm not looking for specific piece of information, which is what that would usually be for, but it's like in that vein, you know?
Mhm.
So I mean, the default check is an easy difficulty, so you can change that if you would like to. I have to upgrade once.
Is easy 1 or 2?
Easy is 1.
Okay. I'm going to make it difficulty 3 just because you're scanning a large number of brains to try to skim information. What I will do is give you 2 boost because you aren't looking to read their minds. You're just feeling a pattern and trying to see if there are any threads that don't match up.
Okay. So that's going to be a total of 4 difficulty then.
I just want a total of 3 difficulty.
Total of 3 difficulty? Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Okay, so one of them is a challenge die.
I don't think this would be kind of like blowing your mind. I think this would just be...
I think because I have time to do this, I will... I can suffer 2 wounds to add a success. So it basically, it's going to take a lot out of me to do this. But I'm really all about like the cultists. I'm like, and obviously Fabius Bile and all of that shit going on. I want to know if anyone's around from that. So I think I would suffer the wounds for the success.
Yep. This is something you could not know until you do it. It'll actually be 3 wounds this time with the additional mass attached to your system. There's just a little more inertia to the overall thing. So it'll be 3 wounds. But it still will give you the automatics that you're looking for.
Okie dokie. So I think that's all I can add. All right. You good? I'm good. Okay. See what happens. 3 successes, 2 advantages.
Nice.
Advantages, what I will say for the advantage, I will allow you to carry those forward as well. So make a note.
Okay,
The first time you have to impersonate Gazzy, you can cash those in.
Nice.
Or impersonate Rancid, sorry.
Yeah.
What you're seeing is the expected behavior.
Okay.
That is expected of Rancid in terms of his engagement with his environment. None of them are worried about Rancid coming at the door. None of them are worried about Rancid calling for anyone. It's clear that Rancid is even less functional than you'd thought, and all you'd see was him being wheeled out onto a stage and going like, and nothing else. Apparently that's a lot for him, but that's very useful for you to know, because if someone who knows Rancid is to bring him something and all of a sudden you tried to have a conversation, that would be bad unless you were specifically geared to. Again, you will be able to.
Essentially, I'm prepared to give the response.
Yeah, or with your psyker abilities, you know that that's what they would anticipate, so you can build the compulsion to allow them to accept that you can talk this time around. Like, it's just going to pay off for you no matter what you want to do.
Yeah, that's
It's just the base level knowledge helps you craft the thing for them.
Cool.
The interesting thing for you, and the surprising thing for you, the only jarring thought that's popping out right now is that Gazzy ordered away the governor's doctor, who usually lives on this level. He stays, he's a full-time attendant. He's there, much like the kind of doctor they have on call for the president, where it's just, there's always someone with a fully decked out medical suite waiting.
Is that just for today?
Just for today.
Okay.
He didn't fire him, but he sent him away to go look after a vague nephew who'd apparently called in a favor. You don't know if that's true. No one has the same story in their mind. It seems like there were probably even number of successes, but nobody has the exact same cover story, but there was maybe a fight, maybe something, and the doctor was sent away tonight.
Okay.
It doesn't seem to you as like a deep conspiracy. You don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's just something that stands out to you right now as the only thing that's not everybody's anticipated events.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what you learn while you are skimming off of minds wandering by up in your big room.
Alrighty.
Meanwhile, down in the party room, the Gazzy steps out onto the stage. He's wheeling Rancid. The trumpets are playing exciting music as he takes him up to the middle. He stops Rancid and parks him. And then the microphone, the 1940 style microphone, lowers from the ceiling. He's like, "All right, everyone, it's so good to be here for the heist." And he looks to the crowd as though they didn't clap. And he's like, "Clap, you idiots!" And they all do because he can literally have them shot if he wants to. They all clap politely. He's like, "It's time to see the teams or whatever. Everyone get on your fucking podiums." I'm imagining you all climb up to your podium.
I get on my fucking podium.
Is there a certain pose you're all striking collectively? Do you have a way that you're standing? How do you want to come across as the spotlights hit the various podiums?
Well, I think that it would probably be like Mina and Warden looking like heavy muscle, just standing, like for sure. And then whatever the guys are doing.
Yeah. In classic like Piccolo pose, Seth just has his arms crossed and is like leaning against something.
Probably Mina, realistically.
Sure.
Yep.
And I will do full like Trump at the G8 where I just push past all of them once they're in position.
God.
And just like get to the front and like with my rolled up pants, just looking as sad as they can, just put one foot up on something. So in theory, I can get like a full deep lunge situation going on and strike just kind of a someone trying to look rakish and capable, but clearly failing pose. Like all the people in the Captain Morgan ads, you know, just really trying for it and failing.
Gazzy at the front as the spotlight hits your group and you can see the other groups all stepping into position. He goes, "And these are the teams. First is my team." And he points to you and the light goes even brighter. And he's like, "They're good, I guess." And then there's, oh man, who are the other teams again? I don't even know. I should know. But it doesn't matter. I'm the governor's son. Fuck you. And at that point, he just hands the mic to Rancid, holds it in front of his face, and Rancid goes, "That's right, Dad. That's right. You're the governor. All right, we got Team Marcus." And he points, and you can see, professional criminals or something. And you see what looks like a hive crime gang, a higher end one. This would be in the realm of aristocratic criminals. It seems to be an Ocean's 11 style team, but clearly all decoded. They've all got marks at their necks and at their wrists, even though they're well dressed, from collars or handcuffs that have been recently worn. If you had to guess, they've all been released from a house prison specifically to do this job. There are 4 of them. Every team is made up of 4 people. There is a traditional kind of heavy that you would expect, big, burly, muscle type jammed into a gorilla suit. Not like a mate suit like a gorilla, but just, you know how they all look like gorillas when you put them in suits?
Yeah.
Along with a swashbuckling leader, someone who looks incredibly out of touch, almost as though they were an accountant who has been let out of jail, along with 3 more hardcore criminals. And then a woman who just looks totally normal and at ease, which is strange because you all know the pressure of the lights and the crowd and the dangers of this heist. She's fine. You can't tell if she's high or if she's clueless. You could think it might be a lobotomy. You're just not sure, but she's a part of that party. He says, "All right, and then we got House Bane! Woo! It's the Navy! And the Navy!" And he points over and you see someone that you had sitting at your table before. It is First Officer Vulcan Ziggler, who is a man with stark black hair, almost a Spock type when you look at him. Very stern, put together, gaunt, in full naval dress uniform. But you can see the shimmering of a refractor field surrounding him. And behind him, you see 2 armsmen and a member of the Mechanicus, all of whom are clearly highly ranking, and they are coming from the Planetary Defense Force. Gazzy ends up answering a question that you all may have been asking. He's like, "Oh man, if anybody has to kill them, they're fucked." And you realize that's why calling in the Navy is a good thing. You all know that Vulcan Ziggler is the first officer of the biggest ship in the planetary defense fleet, which is, confirming my names, which is the Tears of the Emperor. So it is an Avenger class Grand Cruiser. So it is a beaten and well-worn ship. The Avenger class is very large, traditionally retired from service, but brought back. They are nasty ships of the line, and they are very big. It's also not the only ship in the Planetary Defense Force. You'd remember this from your implanted learnings and your discussion of the system. There are also 3 sword-class frigates, and the whole thing is commanded by Lord Captain Vaughn Connery. So, losing Vulcan is actually very, very risky and would highly offend the fleet of the system, who are not insignificant players. In 40K, the first officer functions like they should in Star Trek, which is if there's a boarding action or if there's something risky, Vulcan is the one to go. However, because of their internal setup, Vulcan really shouldn't be in the firing line at any point because there are other lesser ships that can do the send someone down. He does not look pleased. He does not look pleased at all. And I imagine neither are any of you.
Well, I was going to say, you know who gives a single fuck about that? Not the Inquisition.
Exactly. And then the third team, that's House Vance. The third, fourth team, whatever. They've got the Skull Shield. She volunteered or something. And you look over and you see a woman in a rakish jacket very similar to Nero's Skull Shield. And you can see the familial resemblance of her. Behind her are 3 professional soldiers, all of whom are packing hell guns, all of whom look incredibly nasty. You know very little of her. All you know is she was the heir to the Skull Shield rogue trader ship, and she is present for this competition. All right, you've all got a chance to make one threat before we start off with the announcements. Who wants to do their threat first? My team! Yay, my team!
And Seth looks to Nero.
A microphone lowers in front of the podium.
I just step forward and, the lights dim everywhere else around me. And I just look down the line and I say, hey, just want to say I'm really sorry about that time I speared your brother, pulled him into the arena, and the Sister of Blood here and I fucking killed him. So good luck to you, and I guess the rest of you chuckle fucks, because I gotta say, we're doing great. Great. And then I'll slap Mina on the shoulder in a real, we did it, champ kind of way, and go back and just finish my glass, and I'm gonna toss it into the middle of the crowd to shatter, Thor style, but if he couldn't aim.
And Jacinta gestures, and a microphone is lowered down to her, and she holds it up to her mouth and just says, well, I know what you did was perfectly legal, and I can appreciate it from the end. Good luck. And she lets it go. Seth, can you roll me a perception?
Yes.
Nero might be in love. I'm just
difficulty
putting that out
2.
There.
He just needed a lady Nero. That's all.
4 successes.
Yeah. I know what you did was what showed up on your data slate. And she left a very big pause there before the end of that sentence. Jacinta's taken a shot at you all before, and it looks like she's going to be taking another one tonight.
Okay. Then putting that together, Seth will discreetly tell everyone the attack on our hotel room. It was her. Be ready for anything.
The microphone lowers to the professional crime team, and the very calm, strange woman just takes it and says, everybody have fun, bye. She just lets it go back up to the sky. That's all she had for you.
I mean, now Nero's in a love triangle situation. It's a Betty Veronica thing. He doesn't know what to do.
The other microphone lowers in front of the Navy, and Vulcan just draws his power sword and chops it off the mic. He's not even saying anything. He just severs the cable and lets it fall to the floor. At which point, Gazzy is like, whoa, that seemed a little intense, but I kind of liked it. All right, so we put the governor's crown in that warehouse or whatever, and everybody gets a skull. And flying out from around him are 16 servo skulls, all of which have cameras mounted inside their mouths, and they begin to circle the individual members of each team, projecting on 16 screens what they can see of everyone's faces and reactions to what's going on. And you all realize it might be a fair bit trickier to sneak out of here than you'd originally anticipated. From one of the countless journals of Fabius Bile. Entropy is the only true threat to my work. It is chaos at its purest, not those petty warp phenomena who claim the mantle of gods. There is no price too high to pay to remove entropy from this damned galaxy. You all know something of what Fabius is feeling, because entropy is the thing that is currently messing with your plans right now. Servo skulls have flown out and are circling each of the four of you, Nero, Seth, Mina, and Warden. And Piper, entropy's been affecting you for a while as you're covered in a giant flesh suit being powered by your own heart, parked in a room where you can't move. But hey, you got a little bit of that water left they tucked in your arm. Can you roll me a D6?
4.
You hang on to the water. It's still tucked in your arm, so you do have a little bit of comfort in this dark time. If you rolled a 1 to 3, it would have fallen out of your arm. But meanwhile, downstairs, Gazzy raises his hands as the servo skulls begin to circle you, blaring close-up images of every competitor along the walls. And he says, if you check your data slates, you've got the plans now, and go! And you all hear a ding for those of you who have data slates on you. However, before the moment go is yelled, Jacinta's team burst off of their podium and out the door behind their podium. You can see video of them sprinting away, whereas every other team is currently looking at the plans. However, they are shifting towards the doors, clearly beginning to move. What do you all want to do?
We don't need to look at the plans. We need to go. So Seth is good to leave. Seth is like, we know where the vehicle is parked. We have to get there and make it look like we're all piling in to leave. And also have to figure out what we're going to do about these servitor skulls.
So right now, to paint the picture of the plan that you had before this started was, you have your 2 Inquisitorial stormtroopers inside an alcove, it's for lack of a better term, a coat room, but it is a door nearby the front entrance where you can go in, they can come out dressed as you, and you can change.
Yeah.
There is a portable last cannon there waiting for Mina due to some enthusiasm on Truncheon and Cranius' part. And Nero was going to stay and cause a scene.
Yeah.
You do have cameras now, but Warden is legitimately going to go get in the vehicle.
Yep.
Yeah, so I guess the question is, Nero, what's your scene? And everybody else, what are you doing? Or with the cameras in play, Nero, what's your move?
I still have to get in the car initially and get kicked out of the car. So I was laying some groundwork for coming back and causing a scene, which means I think I will also go. Also, there is a non-zero chance that I'll need to go with them now. So I'm going to follow Seth's lead. Ryan, did anybody clean up that glass I shattered?
No.
Okay. Is Crunkus Marcus or Roberto Vance, anywhere near the broken glass that I dumped?
You dumped that from on top of the podium, right?
I threw it, so that the goal was to throw it on a diagonal from the podium, like doing the Thor another smash, but like into the pit.
Here's what I'm going to say, Tom. I'm going to take a story point from you, and then I'm going to say yes.
Okay. Then I have a slightly different plan. I'm going to bumble into one of them and try and drive them back through the glass, McLean style. Because old Tommy wants a blood sample.
Needs some blood. Yep.
So Nero is currently knocking one of the heads of the houses after he gets down the podium into some glass. Are the rest of you heading for the front door, or what are you doing?
Seth is running for the front door. He's still gambling on the servitors. Well, can I roll to see what I know about servitors? Like, are they going to have is it just a camera lens?
I can tell you what you know about servo skulls, which I think is totally reasonable. Servo skulls essentially function as like floating drones with a camera in front of them. So it's in the skull mouth, there's a camera. Otherwise, the skull there is a brain in them because they're required to have their own intelligence by Mechanicus law so that you can't create an AI. However, they don't really have brain function. It has been slaved. You would see this while you were running. Mina, are you running as well?
She's just going to follow Seth. She has like panic eyes and she's following Seth.
And Warden will follow both of you as well, because I think he's aware that he's not capable of interacting with the house leader for better or for worse.
Yeah.
You'll notice they're following you from about 4 to 6 feet away. They are going around corners. They're clearly dodging things, but it seems like they're pretty mindlessly slaved to just follow you. They're not going to be smart. They don't have an active controller.
Mhm.
They're driving kind of under their own impetus, and they've clearly been attached to you. You can see a laser sight from just above the camera is tracking on your jacket. It's floating around, so that may be part of it. You're not sure exactly how they're following you, but
Okay.
that seems to be what you're dealing with.
Okay. Then yeah, I'll have the cameras follow us. But the goal will be to get in and do the swap and not have them watch the swap get made.
All right. I will have both you and Mina will roll dexterity or agility. I would accept, depending on how you want to go about this, there's coordination, which would be you just trying to dodge through and close the door just behind you. Skullduggery, if you want to try to throw them off by going around a corner or by perhaps hitting one with the door on the way past. Also, if you have a ranged weapon, you could just shoot them.
I was thinking about that too. Can I put something out there? Can I
Always.
activate my Chameleoline coding to go stealth and basically reappear when my coat is on one of the other guards when we switched?
So you mean you would run into the room with your coat on, and then inside the room you would take off your coat, put the coat on the guard, and then Chameleoline yourself to come out?
No, I'm trying to Chameleoline myself to lose the drone temporarily, so I don't have to worry about it following me around, and then it can catch me again because of my distinctive coat being worn by someone else.
Here's the challenge: are you dropping the coat or are you carrying the coat? Because the coat isn't concealed, right? It's the armor that's Chameleolined.
Right, that's true. Yes, that's how I've been playing it too. You're right. Okay, so never mind. I wasn't thinking.
Whereas if you wanted to take your coat off and
strategically
toss it to Warden, you could Chameleoline yourself. Like there's those options too, because Warden you don't have to hide. I just want to remind you guys that is the one ace in the hole that you have. Nero isn't trying to hide because Nero's going to be Nero the whole time, and Warden is straight up getting in the car and driving away.
Yeah. No, that's actually smart. I'll toss my coat to Warden and I'll activate the stealth on my armor.
Great. So what checks do you want to do to try to avoid these drones? So I'd said you could do coordination, you could do skullduggery, or you could do ranged attack.
Can I ask for a stealth check? Or
yeah,
I can do skullduggery as well.
No, you've introduced stealth with the Chameleon coding, so I think that's totally reasonable.
Okay.
Because for you, it becomes a stealth in a way that would not have been possible without the armor screwing with the sensors.
Right. Yeah.
And then Mina, what's your strategy for ditching your servo skull?
Oh man, none of these are good for her. She's not sneaky. She's not like, and it's like her impulse would be to just be violent with the servo skull, but I don't feel like that's not going to help. I almost feel like she might be abandoning this part of the plan and just waiting with Warden by the door because it's just not going to happen. Maybe she can just come back with Nero and be in the party.
So you are counting on Nero to get you out of here.
Yes.
You're going to wait outside with Warden. Okay, Seth, let's just do your roll then.
Okay. What do you want to set the difficulty at?
Difficult. Okay, if it was normal difficulty, it would be 4 to try to dodge one of these things. But you've got the stealth, and you screwed with the Chameleon clothing, and you gave someone else your coat, which is a lot to put on a simple thing. So I will say difficulty 3.
Okay.
I will give you. So you already get boost for the Chameleon coating, right?
I'm just having a look at that right now. Yeah, that does give me something. +2 advantage to stealth checks and +2 setback to detect me. So if the skull
+2 advantage
is rolling to see me,
and because of your crafty move with the coat, I'm going to give you +2 boost for the roll.
Okay, so auto results is +2 advantage.
Because I think the advantage to a Chameleon coating, like, it can make things slightly harder for a person to see it, but a person is looking for movement and a bunch of other things. You're doing that weird painted face track for facial recognition software, so it's worse for the servo skull. So yeah, add 2 boost for that.
Okay, then I am, I am ready to roll.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Beautiful. 5 successes.
Bam, Seth, you were into that coat room like a fucking ninja, and the door closes behind you. Mina, you're outside, so you're just stuck waiting while your servo skull circles. You can see the servo skull that was attached to, or was tracking Seth, is panic scanning the environment like frantically like a fly, and then zooming back in on his coat, and then scanning the environment and zooming back in on the coat, but it's clearly unsettled. And within 30 seconds, another camera servo skull flies out and starts scanning, and then gives up and goes away. So clearly there are replacements if you just destroy a servo skull, but there is a brief window of time where you would be without one. Seth, inside you find the 2 Inquisitorial stormtroopers. One is your height and rough appearance. He's just a craggy, kind of stoic guy in a similar outfit. And there's Sister Mina's stormtrooper standing there in her gear, and they're like, oh, "What's happening?"
And Seth will just say, "Your uniforms off now," and I'll reach like through the door and like just grab my coat out of Warden's arm and like throw it at the one guy. Like, you're wearing this now.
He puts on the coat. He was always planning to dress like you, so this check marks your plan. Yeah. So he's good to go. Sister Mina's stormtrooper, however, is like, "What do you need me to do? Why isn't she in here?"
Obviously, you give your armor to me. Hang on. And I'm just gonna like peek out the door and be like looking for Mina.
The servo skull turns and catches your face, and it's racing towards you. What do you do?
I draw out my my bolter, and I try to shoot it.
All right, let's roll. So that'll be a ranged light against difficulty 2. I am going to throw. Okay, I'm going to throw 2 setback on this just because it's a servo skull. They move very, very quickly. They dart around in unpredictable patterns.
Okay.
I know it's not like the same, but I'm imagining like someone in the Tour de France, like who's like gonna go take a shortcut, and literally it's like the camera's on them and it's live TV. Just pull out a gun and shoot the camera. It's like suddenly.
And I'm going to use a story point to make this a little harder for you.
Yeah, I'd like to do the same.
Okay.
If I can. I know we spent one.
You can. You've got one.
Yeah, okay. It's not great. Let's see. Oh, wow. Pretty good. The 2 setbacks actually came up blank, which, whew, thank goodness. 3 successes, 1 triumph, 2 threats.
Triumph. All right. You get very lucky because of your triumph. This is a bolter you're firing?
Yeah. It does have a silencer.
Is it a bolt pistol or a bolter, just for my brain?
Oh, I think it's a pistol.
Great. Bolt pistol?
Yes. Yeah.
That's fine. You are, as we've established, Seth, you are the ambush from the dark glass cannon boy. You are incredibly dangerous for a very brief period of time. However, this leads you with interesting habits. And one of them is that your bolt pistol has a semi-auto setting that will fire 3 shots instead of just 1. You'd left that on because it's a good habit to be in if you only get 1 shot before you die. You, with your triumph, actually smash your servo skull, and you peg Mina's in the distance within the burst. So both servo skulls are shattered. Great. Warden still has his camera, but his camera is aimed solely at him, and you and Mina are both out of the line of visuals for this.
Then Mina, wherever you are,
she's going to run.
You just hear like, and then you just hear, Mina!
And she takes off running towards that door. Like she was looking for Nero, like, Nero, save me. And then hears that and is like, boop, like a puppy.
So in a speed change, there's actually Inquisitorial Stormtrooper armor that you two can strap on. Mm-hmm. However, both of the Stormtroopers, now that they are in your dress, looking just like you, take off out the door and they book it with Warden. So you won't be able to see what's going on there, but they've gone for the vehicle. Meanwhile, inside the main hall, Nero, you're trying to shove Krungus Marcus into the blood samples, or across the glass that you'd smashed on the floor.
Yes, correct.
That would be, I would accept athletics, or if you wanted to do melee light, whichever you think you'd be using more of your training to do.
Definitely melee light, because this is meant to be a full drunk stumble fly, not like an active push. If it looks like I'm shoving him, then like the day is lost. So this is like a half coming off the podium, like taking a step that isn't there, full on like drunk wedding guest going to stumble through the cake table ploy.
All right, so your difficulty for this will be 3 purple and 1 red.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to use a story point to boost that to 2 red.
Mm-hmm. What's our story point situation looking like there, Ryan?
Story point situation. After that, you have 2 and I have 3.
Great. I'm going to upgrade.
I thought
mine.
we had 3.
I spent 1 to break the glass that I'm now shoving a man through.
Nuts.
I will. So right now, as of this turn, just so you know, Laura, because stuff gets missed here, y'all have 1 and I have 4 now.
Aww.
You're
welcome.
Right.
He doesn't have any defense, so there's no setback because he's not wearing armor, and you are pushing a man with no shoes onto glass. Yeah.
Yeah, clever retort doesn't really work here.
No,
so
it might help you
fine.
afterwards, but saying mean things won't make him fall down.
No, not at all. Okay, that's fine. I think that's all I can do. Well, I guess here's the only other case I can make. Ryan, can I add a boost and take a wound?
Yes, if you're going to cut yourself as well, then you're not trying to avoid it, so it will make it less of a shove and more you both stumble into it.
Yeah,
but you're going to have to take the hit.
Yeah, that's fine. I guess one question I would have for you that Nero would know is for my fancy Infinity Gauntlet of blood testing. If the blood mixes, presumably, it wouldn't matter because if my blood's in there and his blood is in there and it comes back homo novus, I know I'm not probably. So I assume that's fine. I just want to make sure I would know how the mechanics of this thing work.
You're not 100% sure on whether or not it'll be able to give the green light. It probably won't if it's got 2 samples in it. But if you bring that sample back, you do have the backpack version in your hotel room. So you could definitely run it through there and separate them out, no problem. So
okay, fantastic. Then I'll absolutely do that. This is
Great.
literally the mission. So happy to take the hit. So 1 wound.
Yep.
Cool. Great. Man, bleeding for boost die. Okay. So our total pool is 1 green, 2 yellow, 2 purple, 2 red, 1 blue.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Let's kick it. Holy shit, 1 success. I also had some advantage I could have spent but forgot about. But 1 success, I'll take it.
Yeah. No, so yeah, you get it. You knock him over. He does his more so than him going down. You actually go down, which is why you take the wound. He's big enough that he stumbles back, but manages to stay on his feet. However, he leaves a couple of bloody prints behind him, and it's easy enough for you to. It's not even you have to be that subtle. He's busy having his feet hurt. You just run that thing along the floor, or if you're feeling more limited, after you hit the floor, you can kind of dip a finger in it and dip it in the cup and just slide it shut.
Yep.
Do you want to run the test now, or do you want to wait until you have the separator later?
If there's a chance of contamination from my blood, I'll wait.
Okay.
And I will also instead, I think, focus on the second part of the plan, which is going, oh, Emperor, hey, man, look, I'm so sorry. Oh, wow, that podium's a lot further up than I thought. Where's my heist crew?
What the fuck are you doing? You made me bleed my own blood.
Oh, hey, man, I'm really sorry. I fell off Hey, holy shit, you're him, aren't you?
You're
so Crungus
lucky.
Marcus.
This is legally the 2 hours where I can't kill you.
Oh, yeah, man. No, I get that. I'd kill me too if I was as big and cool as you are. I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry about that. I gotta find my heist crew, I think.
Fine, go do the stupid thing. I hope you lose. I hope you lose so bad that you die.
Yeah, that's fair. You're a good man, Crungus Marcus. Thank you. And I'll just do that awkward servant leaving the room after spilling coffee on someone thing where I'm bowing a little bit too much and still stumbling backward and tripping on people because I also know I don't need to get to the car. So I'll just keep kind of doing that and being like, has anyone seen a heist crew? You
hear Crungus turn to the person next to him. Well, give me your data slate. And he opens it. And he's like,
I need you, if you get a shot, to kill that fucking pretty Inquisitor. I want him to die.
First of all, very touched that he said pretty. That's nice. Second, remember he's sorry. Okay. And I'll just stumble out into the hall. I know I have to come back in a minute, but I can't just stand around in there for too long. So I'll stumble out into the hall, and obviously no one's there, and just take like a deep breath, knowing that I've got one more blood sample. I just need to survive long enough to scan it.
Great. Piper, you're still waiting. You don't really, there was no system set up to tell you when they were going to arrive.
Yeah.
You did some scans, found a couple of small things. Is there anything else you'd want to do while you are just trapped inside this flesh monster hanging out?
I mean, I don't really want to do much more psyker shit than what I've already done, because like I'm still trying to like limit opening my mind to anything more. So I think like Piper's probably just spending some time with Piper, and reflecting on how to deal with the Nero situation.
That's reasonable. So what is bothering you about the Nero situation, and how are you exploring the idea? There's not a consistent idea of a mind palace that we've seen in so many things, even we've referred to them in other shows. But psychers all have to build their own psychological structures to be able to protect themselves. They work in images. They kind of create their own landscapes or their own environments when they are in a meditative space. Mm-hmm. Where does Piper go to have this debate? And what is she looking at or interacting with? This is limitless because she's got the gift where her mind can create anything. So rather than, for example, like the Dexter TV series where he sits and talks with his dad about what's going on, Piper can very much do that while meditating or anything. I don't want to limit it. I just want to be clear that there's a lot of structure there.
Ooh, that's interesting. I haven't thought of this yet.
Would you like me to come back to you in a moment?
Yeah, because I want to get this right. Yeah.
And if you're looking for your subconscious or whatever, don't worry. You don't have to role play the subconscious you're talking to. That's my job because I know all the information you would know. Just wanted to take that pedal off the gas for the panic that would cause me if I was you.
Hey, Piper, yeah. What are you thinking about? Oh, nothing, Piper. I'm just, just you having to do two like sock puppet voices in your head.
God.
Seth and Mina, you are fully ensconced in armor now. There was Stormtrooper armor as well as House armor. I think I said you were getting the Stormtrooper. Clearly, you would get into the guard armor that matches the property. Yeah. You do have helmets, like some of the guards do, the higher ranking ones. So clearly, you can wander around looking more in sergeant capacity than otherwise, which means you have a silver helm with a purple like mohawk attached to it. The plume is worn by Truncheon, which is clearly the highest person, but you've seen the mohawk kind of brush Roman style for there. It does circle deep into your forehead, giving you a V over the nose and then around your eyes, and there are cheek guards as well. So it actually does a pretty good job of disguising your faces. Seth, obviously that's a little bit weaker for you because you have the most distinctive sociopathic eyes on the planet. Yeah. Mina, you do blend very effectively. It keeps your hair out of the way. The weapons that are available, you obviously have your own personal weapons. There are last locks available if you want to try to blend in with the ceremonial weapons that are being carried around. There's also a man-portable last cannon. Just because you asked for it, it's there for you, Mina, so you could take that around as well. What weaponry do you want to bring?
Mina will turn to Seth and be like, do you know how to fire a last cannon?
In theory, but no first-hand experience.
Well, I could carry it for you if you have interest.
Seth activates the like voice changer patch that we talked about before. Just like taps his throat, and just like a wildly different voice comes out, and he just says, "If you're going to lug that thing around, you're going to be the one firing it."
Never mind. She's just gonna take her normal, like, melee weapons. And I guess take a gun for show, but...
So are you carrying the shield?
I don't think she can't carry the shield because it'll be too obvious. There's no way to hide that. So, but she'll take the chainsword unless the guards have a melee weapon.
They don't traditionally, but the chainsword I think you could get away with. There'd be a way for you to kind of do a makeshift kind of like, it's probably got a scabbard of some kind that you probably wouldn't wear with your normal gear, but you could definitely have had that included or brought by the stormtroopers for here. So that could be on your hip. And then if you want to you've usually got a pistol, I think, or do you have no ranged weapon?
Yeah, she has a pistol. So
you could just take that pistol if you didn't want to take the rifle.
Okay, she'll just take her pistol and take the chainsword and leave those or I suppose she could have given the shield to the guard, but it's too late.
Do you want to not have the shield? It's up to you. I'm not going to say no either way.
All right,
Nope, Mina's greedy. I'm going to decide for you based on that sound.
So we'll leave it in the room, but she's not going to carry it.
Yeah, it'll be there so that you'll have that if you need it.
Yep.
Seth, I imagine you've got your regular gear. Are you going to carry something for cover? You've already got your bolt pistol anyways, which is appropriate from what you've seen of the sergeant class.
Yeah. If there's a long gun to carry a rifle or whatever, he'll have that just to complete the appearance. But he wouldn't drop any of his existing weapons. He's still going to carry on him like his discreetly placed like neurotoxins. He's got his forearm mounted plasma pistol. He's got his bolt pistol. Yeah.
Yep. So the bolt pistol will be at your hip. The plasma is mounted on your wrist cover, so you can just keep wearing that Van Brandt's. And you'll be carrying a last lock. So again, it's the flint musket equivalent of a laser weapon.
Okay.
Very powerful, but it takes a while for it to physically reload. You have to put in a new energy cartridge every time. So you literally have to crack it open, chuck a cell, put a new one in, and go.
Okay.
You're not planning on firing it. It's just to make you look like you got a rifle like everybody else.
Yeah.
What is your plan now? Are you going to go back in and watch the heist now that you know a lot of it's being televised? Are you going to skulk through the hallways? What is your intention? You'd never discussed what to do after this. You know, from now until the person shows up with the crown.
My plan is to take up a guard position near Gazzy so that A, I can communicate with him with that signal, and B, blend in because we are the house guard. I think it's where we'd be most expected to be seen.
Great.
And it's out in the open. So I think it's also safe for us because we're hidden out in the open. So anyone looking for us probably wouldn't be looking on the stage with the governor. That being said, it was Seth's plan to have Mina up there with us as well. But if Mina feels compelled to go elsewhere, he'd be open to hearing it. But that's the plan. Really,
but why don't you check in with her as Seth, and we can see where this goes.
Yeah. He would just say, now we go to Gazzy as house guards. We should be able to ride out the remainder of the heist there. And then when someone brings, the crown in, presents it to Piper, one of us can take it and give it to the real governor.
Yes, sir. She says, and gives a military salute.
Very good.
The two of you make your way back to the main room. I'd say you know enough of the hallways here to be able to figure out your path between the elevator trip there and the multiple times you have walked to this room. It's this ground floor is not designed to be confusing in any way. This is clearly the guests can't get lost by accident, so that if they get lost, we know they're trying to be spies portion of the building.
Yeah.
So you can make your way to the stage and you're heading there. Piper, you are upstairs meditating. What does that look like for you? Where are you at?
So for Piper, meditation, essentially she wants to be able to explore her own mind without any other intrusions from psykers. And so in order to protect herself, she's basically in her mind sitting in a blank black box, except that there's has a hexagonal. It's basically a hexagonal prism she's in, a hexagon floor she's in, and a hexagon roof. And otherwise it's just basically kind of a cylinder, a hexagon cylinder around her that she just sits in. And that's because if there's any disturbance at all, there will be some sort of visual manifestation. There will something that will disturb her to tell her she's not alone in her mind. And she essentially just she talks to the emperor, but the emperor doesn't respond. It's essentially her musing to herself into her tiny confined black space.
So I'm sure I've asked this before, but I'm going to ask it again because it's in a really specific area. How does Piper see the Emperor? Because Piper has seen the Emperor canonically because Piper has been soulbound. However, canonically, generally the Emperor is seen in the most meaningful and powerful way to whoever is looking at him. And it is blinding, literally and physically, to look at him. So what is the version and the sight of the Emperor like for Piper inside this space?
I think it is like it's almost like a star it's almost like a star that's really far away. But it's like it's close enough. It's brighter than like any other star that we have in our sky. It's tremendously bright. It's like blindingly bright. I imagine it's almost like if the Astronomicon were like to be put into like a single like pin, it's just like a single pinpoint. Mm-hmm. And it's like painfully, I think she sees it like painfully pure.
Great.
And perfect.
So what does she say? What are the thoughts going through Piper's head as she talks aloud to the Emperor?
Being aware that she's not actually talking to the Emperor. She's quite casual with him / herself. So I think she starts off saying, okay, so hello, Holy Emperor, hello. It's me, Piper. I just had something I wanted to like bounce off you just for some thoughts, because like it's really like weird because like as like the Inquisition, we're like instruments like of your will, and we're supposed to be, you know, have like all this authority, and like we're supposed to be like super reliable, except I'm now seeing that like someone who's supposed to be giving me orders, like he might be kind of losing it. And I'm just like, do I intervene? Do I not? Like, obviously, like everyone else on the team is also seeing that something funny is going on, except that like nobody's doing anything about it. Like, I don't know if we can afford to do anything about it because like it's such a tricky situation. But then like, I can't afford to not do anything about it. So I'm just like, I don't know what to do. Do you have any advice whatsoever? Love, Piper.
And you stare at the light, and of course there is no response. But are you hoping for one? Are you sending for one? Or is this a passive, you write the letter and then go back to live your life?
No, this is like, I'd like to be struck with some sort of inspiration. This is like actively like thinking through. I think she's like actively thinking through the possibilities.
All right. Can you roll me a psyker test?
Yeah. So just a straight telepathic check.
Yes.
Okay. All right. What's my difficulty?
4.
Okay. And am I doing the standard?
No, 3. It's 3. It's
3.
Sorry,
Am I doing the standard upgrade?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good to roll?
Yes. This is also, to be clear, not one that would give you like perils. That's not what we're talking about.
Okay. 1 advantage.
1 advantage. You feel like there's inspiration just around the corner, just outside of the hexagon, coming from that light that signifies the Emperor, but it's just not getting through. You feel positive, like you can sense some emotions from it. It feels positive, it feels supportive, and it gives you a slight feeling that you are on the right path and that you should stay on that path.
All right. So she just says to the white light, so to be clear, all my thoughts are like correct. So I'm right to be feeling the way I'm feeling. So what you're saying is I have to deal with this. All right, thanks, Emperor. Thank you.
Yeah, you could still feel a pressure from the outside, from where the Emperor is. but you know it would take greater effort to reach it or allow it through.
Mm-hmm.
Do you just want to shut down email?
I don't.
Or do you want to
yeah,
push for it?
I don't think. Piper doesn't want to push outside of her black box.
Fair enough.
That's a no-no.
Then you have that positive stay on your path feeling.
Yeah.
And you return to the monstrous body that you were in, tragically having dropped your water cup. No more water for you. You're just sitting there alone, hoping maybe they will show up with someone for you. Meanwhile, downstairs, Seth and Mina, you have made your way to the stage. The guards shift easily at a gesture from Truncheon after a subtle nod from Gazzy while he's inhaling Obscura through a glass pipe and just looks like a train wreck already. Seth, you're on the stage right side. Stage left is Mina. Mina, you end up actually in position right next to Truncheon Cranius. You realize he either has a crush on War or on you or on both, but he just seems very happy to see you there. He just likes having you around. At the center of the stage, yeah, Gazzy's a train wreck. Nero. Sorry, I'm trying to keep track of multiple people in multiple environments, which is why my brain just froze for a second.
I
Nero.
keep answering to Nero anyway, so I'm not helping you.
Yeah, you are in the room, obviously. You can see on the screens that Warden, quote-unquote Seth, and quote-unquote Mina are all booking it towards the vehicle. More servo skulls have swung out to join their following party that are catching them on tape. How are you reacting to the fact that theoretically they're going to pull away without you? Oh, no.
Yeah, so I'll come rushing back into the room, mad panic, and similar to my earlier, just grab whoever's convenient, just start being like, hey, pal, do you know a shortcut? You know, a shortcut to the and I'll like look at the screens and just slowly, very much a man missing his plane. Just be like, oh no, all right. You know what? I fuck, and I'll just, again, to everyone the same way I did with the pants. Just like, I fucked up again. Everyone, I fucked up again. So drinks on whoever's paying for them, am I right? And then I'll just like stumble over to the bar, full on Bender being a human for the first time. Just like awkward dancing and be like, cool, I'm not even in my vehicle. I'm not even going. So guess I'll hang out with, hey, you, what's your name? I'll just go to the first person I see.
You stagger up to a man in stormtrooper armor. He's in the full carapace armor. It's painted bright blue. There are a number of brand new medals that have been stamped into the chest plate. And he pulls off his helmet and he's like, and it's nice to meet you, isn't it? The name's Maximilian Phoenix. And he raises an arm, and you see he has a full augmetic arm. It is slightly smaller than his regular torso. It's very thin. Can you roll me a perception, Nero?
Yeah.
Difficulty 2.
All right. So that's going to be... Man, I never use perception. What a treat. So I got 2 from my basic. I got 3 from cunning. Amazing. All right. And difficulty 2?
Difficulty 2.
Alrighty. Any setback or boost you can think of? I can't think of any boost for this.
No, I think this is just a straight roll. This one's pretty clean.
Great. Love it. All right. It's a party. 1 success.
Awesome. You glance down and realize that one of his legs has also been replaced with an augmetic that is too thin to balance his body, but they're both clearly very expensive. And it takes you a heartbeat to put it together and realize that this must be the Bane Suicide King who survived in the arena that you allowed to get treatment. So taking in the man, Maximilian Phoenix, he has wavy, dark, shoulder-length brown hair with a thick mustache over his lip that has the word Bane just shaved into the mustache. He's about 5'7", super jacked dude, but his one highly expensive, fancy augmetic arm and leg are both chicken thin. They're super strong and super expensive, but they are clearly meant for like an aristocrat who's not built like this. And he's like, so it's nice to meet you. Are you the one that was in the arena as well?
Yeah, and I'll like flip my hair back a little bit, And much like Patrick Bateman looking at a business card, I'm going to be darting my eyes at that mustache. And just, Nero knows, with blonde hair, he can never grow a proper, impressive one. So there's just a little bit, despite how dangerous this is, despite the clear threat, just can't help but be a little bit jealous of that cool mustache. But yeah, I'll flick my eyes down to the mustache and back up his face and be like, yeah, I was with the Sister of Blood. We got our asses kicked pretty badly.
Yeah, I hear you. At least your ass is still attached to you. So I've been promoted, apparently, to Chief of Security for House Bane.
Well, congratulations. That's good on you.
Thanks. I came from the bottom of the hab, kind of got my teeth knocked out by me mum, arm knocked out by me dad, but in the end of the day, you punch your way to the top. And then you just go to the arena and think you're fucking dead, but you come out of it having get shot by Eldari. Did you know this arm costs as much as a whole building, but was intended for a tinier woman?
Wait, as much as a whole building? Can it? And like suddenly Nero's very excited. He's like, can it? What can it do?
Oh yeah, check this out. And he just does a Henry Cavill reloading his elbow, and the whole front of the arm flips around, flowers out, and repetals back together. And you can see heating coils running along the edges. And you realize he has a melt-a-gun built into his right arm. So I can do this now.
I'm not sure how fond you were of your arm, but that seems like a hell of an upgrade to me.
Honestly, I'm okay with it. Because if anybody doesn't like my tiny arm, I can give him an old blast.
You give him the old blast of the tiny arm.
I like this, man. Drinks for us. And then he orders drinks for the two of you. It's that weird water prom mix that has become very popular on this world. Yep. And then he looks over your shoulder and says, wait, isn't that your team up there? And you turn back to see the servo skulls are following the Inquisitorial Taurox from behind as it races down the road towards... you can see from the other screens, you didn't have to check your data slate, so I'll just give you this for free. There is a warehouse in... it's just past the treasury in the mercantile section of town that's clearly been donated. The prize is inside it. On each of the screens, there are little guides showing where people are relative to the city. However, you're seeing the Taurox tearing down the street, the Inquisitorial Taurox, when it is struck in the side by a last cannon blast. Just a massive burst of energy that spins the Taurox sideways. But due to some canny reinforcements by Nero, does not take it down. However, the Taurox recounters itself and begins heading forwards again when a giant 40K equivalent of a trash truck, just a giant box of iron, hurtles out of an alleyway and smashes into it, at which point the opening at the back of that truck opens and nearly 24 soldiers jump out in skull shield gear, producing hell guns, and just start pouring fire into it. And you realize you may have given enough armor to survive another heist team, but you may not have given enough armor to survive the vengeance of a daughter whose father you murdered. From a captured audio recording of Fabius Bile. We were the chosen, we were the light and the future, and now we are nothing but cold ashes scattered across history's desolation. And cold ashes scattered across history's desolation may soon be a member of your party, because all of you are looking at screens seeing a line of skull shield soldiers armed with hell guns firing on the Taurox they've just pinned against a building with a trash vehicle, both in the literal sense in that it was clearly hauling garbage, and in the metaphorical sense in that it is a ramshackle hunk of metal that is pinned it against a wall. The three of you that are inside the space are aware of this. Piper, I don't think you would be. Warden is kilometers away. So I think for you...
Yeah, and my mind is not open to that stuff, so yeah.
No, none of you who are watching the screens are able to see Jacinta Skullshield's servo team. They clearly took all of those out and have disappeared. So you are watching as the back door of the Taurox is kicked open and two Inquisitorial stormtroopers burst out firing before being gunned down brutally. You can see the team of soldiers close in, flip over and check the bodies, and radio out. And then they turn, sling their hell guns over their shoulders, and bring up rifles they had slung under their arms, moving for the cab. At the very last moment, Warden kicks that door out. Laura, do you have Warden stats for me?
I do.
Can you roll me either a ranged light or a melee light, whichever you think he would strike out with?
He's going to be a ranged light always.
Great.
I think.
Yep.
Unless absolutely necessary. Literally, unless he can't get his gun up in time, he's going to be.
Let's roll a ranged light then at difficulty 2 with 2 setback for the armor on the skull shield
Difficulty
soldiers.
2 setback.
Give him a boost because he would definitely, or 2 boosts because he would have had time to plan for this as they were gunning down the other troopers in the back.
Okay. All right. That's everything?
I will use a story point to make things a little nastier for Warden.
You know who could have used a big laser gun stashed away in the coat room?
All righty, rolling. Oh, 5 advantages, 1 triumph.
Ooh.
Oh, that triumph, eh? In a freak of absolute luck, they yank open the door to the cab, and a grenade goes off and just blows 3 troopers back dead away from the vehicle, followed by you see them look down and sprint away from the door as another grenade goes off and takes out the second wave. There is a scythe of hell pistol fire that comes under the thorax and cuts down 3 different soldiers at the knees. And then you see Warden just book it and go into a building, and Warden raises his rifle and cuts down the servo skull chasing him. Warden disappears. You see troopers pursue after him, but they have to go around the vehicle. He's got a lead and he knows what he's doing, but he is in trouble. At which point, all of you have to face the fact that you aren't participating in this heist. You are just the audience, which means you get to watch the servo skulls as this all goes down. There are 3 teams still in the game. There are servo skulls hunting for Jacinta Skullshield's team because they took out their servo skulls to do this ambush. There are skulls tracking Vulcan Zigimer, who is clearly closing in on the front of the warehouse that has been labeled. It's showing on the screen. And then there is the professional criminal team that you are seeing travel underground. They've entered the sewers and are heading towards the facility, clearly trying to find a way into it rather than going through the exterior defenses. As things start to progress, I did some die rolls in advance, so I know how this stuff plays out, but there was chaos involved, I promise you. The Navy team begins moving about it in a very literal, straightforward way. They have 2 armsmen, there is Vulcan, and there is a member of the Adeptus Mechanicus. They are moving through the exterior defenses, which are, in the majority of cases, a slight maze of walls and a number of servitors. However, they're taking time to carve through the walls, deactivate servitors, or rewire servitors that can move and send them through the maze to get notice in advance. It's slow, but they progress well and they progress without being injured. The team that is underground begins to tunnel upwards and work their way through into the inside. However, there are a number of mines that end up slowing them down on the hatches into the building. There could have been an explosive way to remove anyone who decided to use the sewers, but they spotted it, which actually means those 2 teams both break into the central facility at the same time. A brief exchange of gunfire is made before the thieves are essentially decimated. 2 of them are killed outright. The woman who looked crazy begins to float and reveals herself as an illegal psyker and burns down both armsmen before Vulcan takes her out with a combination plasma pistol and his power sword. So she falls, and they use the last prisoner to open up, to force him to crack the safe alongside their Mechanicum team member before they execute him for on-screen. Vulcan, using naval law, declares harboring a psyker as a criminal and terminal offense and execute him, and begins, they carry the governor's crown, which is a simple gold crown. It's simpler than you would think, but when you contextualize it, you all realize that this is a very old system, and the crown would have been with the very first people to arrive, so they would not necessarily have had the incredible wealth they had now. Anyone who starts a system like this is risking a huge amount of money to go colonize and just hope that things pan out. So this is clearly first generation and a relic. However, the big thing that surprises you is Jacinta Skullshield's cameras come back on as she rolls a Lehman Russ battle tank up to the front door of the Citadel and parks it, because she has access to the armored legions of her father. So she is clearly waiting for Vulcan Sigimer to try to drive up to the Citadel. Again, I'm just telling you things, and I apologize, but welcome to the craziness. Vulcan is driving forwards. You are all on tenterhooks, just watching, knowing when he comes around a corner, he will be absolutely destroyed. When by a freak of luck, he sees the reflection in a window across the street that's leading into the Citadel, and he parks. And everyone is wondering in this party, what the fuck is going to happen? There's no way to get past that tank. And there is 7 minutes of absolute silence and no one moving anywhere. Until a screaming is heard from the sky. And 2 Marauder bombers launched from the Naval Defense Fleet soar down, break atmosphere, and are swooping towards the Leman Russ battle tank, which Jacinta Skullshield jumps out of and flees away from as they hit it with rockets, and it explodes outside, leaving her defenseless, but having escaped theoretically into the night. At which point, the Navy transport, which is just an armored truck, pulls up to the front of the Citadel, and it is now time for your plans to go into action. Where are all of you? I'm imagining the 2 of you are still in your position on the stage. I just want to make sure we've got this picture painted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nero, are you still drinking with Maximilian at the bar, or where have you positioned yourself?
Yeah, my job is to play the exact part I'm playing, which is to be horrified at the death of 2 of my companions, rooting for one of my guys to get away, and then just basically spending most of it looking like the kid who managed to not get his ass kicked. Like, you know, all my friends wanted to go to the park, and I was like, I'm going to stay home. And then I've watched them all get their ass kicked, and I'm like, oh, this is awful, but I'm really glad it's not me. So no, I'm fully still playing the part. It's easier now because the panic is real. But no, I'm still in the crowd and likely just hanging out with Maximilian. I feel like I can make enough. He's distracting enough, and I'm distracting enough that together we can make enough of a ruckus to effectively draw attention, but also this is a clusterfuck. So yeah, that's where I'll be. That said, I'm purposefully sloshing a lot of my drink around so that I'm finishing many drinks without actually having to drink this like prom bevy, which I know will just knock me right the fuck down.
Yes. Can you roll me a cool and use the advantage that you've saved up? This is just for the crowd. Essentially, it's a question of whether or not the crowd thinks this is a ploy on your part to try to grab things at the last moment, or...
Yep. No, I get that. All right, so we're doing cool.
Yep.
We're adding the 3 banked advantage from before. So 3 boost.
Yep.
What's the difficulty, sir?
Difficulty will be 3. You're pretty pathetic, and you've been consistently pathetic or crazy. So also, like, the craziness at the arena didn't seem like organized, I have a plan crazy. So I think even the crowd would be like, this guy's a bit of a wreck.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go with that.
Okay. Yeah, I think that works for me. Okay, rolling bones. Wow, damn, it's a wash. Full wash, 3 success, 2 advantage, 3 failure, 2 threat.
Everything outside is so interesting that they're just not paying attention to you in general.
I feel like I'm kind of not, like, I think I'm doing that thing where everyone is watching the important, like, news event unfold. We're like, I'm trying, but I'm also in. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, everybody's just watching this crazy tense game, forgetting that you're a part of it, but also not in a way that's like, oh, he's a mess. It's just you're not on the radar currently.
Like there's only 2 Leman Russes that they would be impressed by. One of them's the tank and the other one's a dead Primarch. So I'm fine to just not matter to them for this moment.
Fair enough. Seth, you are on the stage and you are seeing the Navy transport pull up to the front of the Citadel. Do you give Gazzy the signal?
I do. Yep.
All right. You do. None of you know what this distraction is yet, but you also, Nero, would recognize that this distraction, you know the signal. You know the signs that are being passed along. For both you and Mina, this would be the equivalent of yelling like, now! In any sort of code way. Because finger tapping on the thigh is not subtle. You have a bunch of brushing coats, playing with buttons. There's a bunch of business, but you're aware Gazzy doesn't have the experience with this. And Seth, you'd also be concerned because he's been smoking a shitload of Obscura and a lot of other drugs on the stage anyways. You're not quite clear how much of it is tolerance versus how much is he is a train wreck and that's a part of the bit.
Right.
But you give the sign Gazzy steps up to the microphone alongside Rancid. He waves for it to come down, and he's like, all right, so it looks like we're going to have a winner in a minute. This is pretty exciting, isn't it, folks? And then you all just hear a hiss. Just a quiet hiss through the air. Can each of you roll me a perception? Nero, Seth, and Mina. Difficulty 2. It's visual, so Seth, I think you get a bonus for having robot eyes.
Yes.
Nero, I will give you... Oh, you already rolled? Just go with it. You're good.
1 advantage.
Great. You hear the hiss.
Cool.
I got 2 successes, 2 threats.
4 successes, 2 advantages.
All right. Nero, as this lightning-fast series of events happen, you take it in as it happens. I'll give slightly more information to that too as it happens. You hear a hiss through the air, and you hear a groan from beside... Oh, man, I got to get my list. You hear a groan from beside Gazzy. And when you look over it, you can see blood is pouring down Rancid's chest from a blow just over his left pectoral that is punched through, and he's leaking blood heavily, at which point time seems to slow, and things become very violent very quickly. There is another booming sound, and you see a man with a shotgun aimed at Gazzy, and it just blasts a crater in Gazzy's stomach and knocks him to the ground. At the same time, 2 more hisses are heard. One tears through the room and strikes Lucia Bain in her left shoulder, spinning her around in a spray of blood that knocks her to the ground. And a third hiss is heard, and Crungus Marcus takes a round through the left side of his neck, which begins spraying arterial spray, and the room quickly begins to break down into insanity. Mina, you had the middle of the line roll. You saw at least one of the rounds that was silent blasted through the banners that were above. You could see it punching through. That's the only reason you could hear sound, was because it was hitting things along the way. The rest of the shots, you don't have a ton of locations on. Seth, however, you were positioned uniquely to be able to see what happened. There is a muscle-bound character with a mohawk in a big suit, looking traditionally Marcus-y if you had to pick a house out the gate, with the shotgun aimed at Gazzy, racking and ready to fire again. Rancid has been clearly picked off by someone who has a small gap from above where the banners are. Clearly, the second floor has some access, whether for spying or other purposes. Lucia was also tagged from that level, and Crungus Marcus was hit by another warrior in the crowd, who was bringing up an experimental rifle, the likes of which you do not recognize. At which point, pandemonium breaks out. A few things happen instantly. The shotgun carrying shooter is tackled by the guards. And Truncheon turns to you, Mina, and says, all right, do we kill everybody now? And you realize his guards are aiming into the crowd, not sure who the shooters are and who the shooters aren't. What do you reply?
Oh, she says, no, look for the actual shooters.
And he just yells, bring me the shooters. And he's like, alive?
No.
Not alive, apparently. Before that reaction can be made, though it is quickly, and last lock fire begins pouring into the ceiling, where the 2 groups of shooters have been identified, Maximilian takes down the shooter who tagged Lucia. He manages to just sprint away from the bar and, using his metal arm, slams them into a sleeper hold, and they are out like a light. And the other shooter was taken down by house security who had shot at Gazzy. However, there are the 2 shooters up in the ceiling that are active. They're getting shot at. You can see them running. You realize that there is a small balcony that circles the very top of the room, likely used in a gantry sense to be able to hang things in the room or change those decorations, but the shooters are up there. Seth, because of your excellent roll, you do have a bead on one of them. Do you want to fire? What do you want to do?
I will combination fire and call it out. I'll just say in my modulated voice, concentrate on my fire, and I'll just open up on where those shots are coming from.
Great. The guards on stage will do that as well with you. What weapon are you firing?
The rifle's in my hands, so I just raise it up because it also has the most appropriate, I think, range, right? Like, it wouldn't make sense for me to draw from the hip and try and hit this thing. Firing.
Let's go with ranged light, because we're using if it's a weapon you would normally carry, it's light. If it's anti-tank, it's heavy.
Okay.
Difficulty for this will be 3 due to the distance. I will add a setback for the fact that you're firing into the ceiling, which is an unpredictable angle, and I will add another setback because there are banners and other things that are hanging and flipping as fire is coming randomly from around the room. However, I will give you 3 boost because your fire is guiding a wave of other last lock fire that is pouring towards this target from the other guards on the stage.
Okay. I don't think I can do anything else to goose those numbers. Bionic guys, no. Okay. I have a forgery kit. I would like to create a document that says, I hit you. 3 successes, 3 threats.
3 successes, 3 threats. You do tag the shooter that is on your side. They were the one who was aiming down at Rancid. You tag them. They are hit with your last lock and then pummeled with 3 more last lock shots as they begin to slow down, having been hit before, until they are dead on the gantry. So there is one shooter still active who is shoving their way through the crowd, and they're heading towards you, Nero, away from Krungus Marcus. What do you do?
I also was gonna say that Mina's first thing would be to look for Nero and be sure he's safe or not. So I don't know if she would see that, but
I would say yes. Nero's going to get to act first, but I think it's going to be Nero, and then we'll do a little initiative race to see if you can get to the problem before they can get to Nero.
Very good.
Cool. Nero knows how this particular dance goes. So there's the shooter is sprinting towards me, pushing through people.
Yes.
Cool.
Solely because beside you is one of the entrances. It's not like they're consciously coming to fuck Nero
totally
up.
Fine.
They're just making the exit.
Yeah, that's cool. In that case, how far away would you reckon they are, Ryan? I don't need for aiming so much as trying to figure out
They start about 20 feet away from you and are closing in pretty fast. They're big again, but they're...
Yeah, okay. No, that should work then. Cool. So I'm going to, knowing that that's what they're aiming for, seeing that that's obviously where they're going, I always carry my bolt gun slung over my chest. Makes me look cool, but also it's very easy for panic shots. So just as soon as I become privy to what's going on, I think my hand kind of drops to it and I just kind of pull it up. And I'm just going to take a beat on this guy. Basically, the reason I was asking about distance is I'm trying to buy myself that sweet aim boost.
Oh, yeah.
Of just scoping and being like, oh, you're going to go for the door? Cool, bro. So with that in mind, I'm going to try and blast him on his way to the door. That said, I also don't really care about collateral.
Great.
I think this guy's got to go down. Plus, when you carry around a bolt gun, everything's kind of collateral in the long run.
Correct.
Cool. So with that in mind, I'll be using the aim maneuver and then taking my pew 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 shot. So Ryan, does he have any defense?
No, he does not. The killers that you've seen up top that have been knocked down, they're all just in the traditional tuxedo evening wear of the rest of the crowd. They're blending in. I will say, if you are going to be not caring about collateral, which is great, I will give you a free upgrade of one of your dice to a yellow. I will also upgrade one of the danger dice to a red. I will acknowledge the only thing that is being risked in terms of a despair will just be hitting the crowd.
Gotcha.
It's not going to blow your weapon or anything like that. It's just you totally got a sexier chance with a slightly higher risk.
So at that range, I'd assume we're talking 2 purple, 3 purple, 2, and then upgrading 1 to a red. It could be 3 at that range, actually.
No, because closer it goes down in this system. So he's well within where you could throw something at him. So he'd be at 2 difficulty. So
1 purple, 1 red.
Yep.
Cool. And then no boost, no setback.
You aimed, so you would get a boost.
Right. Yeah.
Aim gives you a free boost, and you have a targeter, right? What does that do for your
aim?
It
takes away setbacks. So if there's no setbacks, then
I probably would have added one for the crowd. So we'll just say that was removed by the fact you got that targeter.
Love it. All day, every day. Cool. I will raise my gun and fire. Oh yeah, baby. 1 success, 3 advantage.
1 success, 3 advantage with a bolter. You just fire a, half pop can sized grenade, because that's really what they are, just self-propelled miniature grenades, which punches into the attacker's torso and just shreds their chest. There's a crump and a wash of blood around them. However, you've injured no other members of the crowd. You just tagged this person in a perfect shot.
And as I pull the gun away, I just look at him and say, "Hey, look, you escaped."
And he just falls dead, because without lungs, he can't give a clever retort no matter how much he'd like to.
Nero knows he can't win a game of wits, so the only way to do it is to punch out vocal cords and lungs.
Mina, you would be the one with the most combat training and the one most likely to keep situational awareness. Can you roll me a perception?
Yes. Difficulty?
Difficulty 3. 1 setback because there are banners and there's general craziness. 1 boost because you are trained to deal with craziness.
Yes. Do we have story points at all?
You've got 2 and I've got 3.
Okay, I'm going to use one because perception is garbage.
So am I. Let's do this.
Oh boy. Okay. All right. So I've got 1 green, 1 yellow, 2 purple, 1 red, 1 blue, 1 black.
Yep.
It's a good mix. It's a great mix. Oh, 4 successes, 2 threats.
4 successes, 2 threats.
Okay.
You see another shooter bringing up a weapon in the crowd. Clearly somebody had waited until the others had taken their shot before they raised their weapon to engage. They're drawing a bead on Rancid. What do you do?
Oh, she's going to turn to, oh my gosh, what's his name? Turn to Truncheon and point and say, "There, shoot there now."
Truncheon drops the last lock in his hands and reaches behind his back and pulls forward a grenade launcher, because he was expecting a war zone. Could you roll me a melee attack? Because we will use those rules for Truncheon firing his grenade launcher.
Perfect. She cannot shoot beans, so okay. So a melee. Okay, and difficulty?
Difficulty will be 3.
Okay.
They are further away.
All right. So that will be 2 green, 3 yellow, 3 purple.
Yep.
Great rolling. 2 successes.
2 successes. All right. He kills the attacker and about 6 other people around them with the shrapnel spraying out of the frag grenade he tags them with. Because bolters are miniature grenades. Grenades are real grenades. And it is a mess to the point where it echoes around the marble within the room. It's the first really, really loud weapon other than the shotgun, but that was so startling people didn't react the same way. To the point where you all have ringing in your ears because the echo was so loud coming through the space. But you see no one else raising weapons. At this point, the house guard are pouring into the room from outside. Rifles are aimed at all of the guests who are clearly not being allowed to leave any further. Gazzy, who is on the ground, is being hauled up by Truncheon, who is ready to pull him and Rancid to safety. There are 2 men wheeling Rancid away. What do you do?
Can I spot Roberto Vance from here?
Roberto Vance, along with the other house leaders, is in the crowd. He's looking shocked.
All right, Roberto. Remind me again who the targets were, or who the victims were.
The people who were shot. Gazzy was shot by a shotgun.
Rancid, yeah.
Rancid, Lucia, and Marcus were all tagged by shooters with whatever the silent guns are.
So there was no obvious attempt on Roberto Vance's life here.
Correct.
Okay.
Everyone in the room, the crowd is upset. The house leaders are surrounded by their own people, but clearly not being allowed to leave. Each person's security is looking after them physically. So you're seeing first aid being done by very talented doctors, perhaps the most expensive one could imagine, along with their own troops circling up around them. They're not necessarily armed, but you're suddenly seeing a lot of people who had pistols who should not have been able to snuck them in. No one's aiming them at security, but this is clearly a highly volatile situation. Chastener Bo-Katan is standing amongst the rest of them. He's like, what the fuck is going on? I'm getting my fucking people in here. Fucking get in, fucking get in. And you just see enforcers burst in. Only his enforcers line up behind and alongside the house troopers. He's like, fucking disarm them. And you just watch enforcers brutally take down the guards in purple. He had a full squad of nearly 40 enforcers outside, and these are not the softies. These were his best shock troops, specifically because at any point, you would all know this, which is why I'm just doing a little bit of exposition here. The Arbites on any planet's only job is to keep the planet running and paying tithes. If someone tries to shoot all the leaders of the houses in this sector, that's a big Arbites problem. So the scene basically is being broken down. They're stripping weapons from everybody, and they're clearly not letting anyone leave. At which point, so Gazzy and Rancid have been taken upstairs. You guys are down here with the rest. Chastener Bo-Katan approaches you. He's like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. What the fuck? What the fuck? He's clearly lost, but he's grouped the three of you into a party. You will have ended up together with all the jostling because the enforcers will not pull a gun on you no matter what the fuck is happening.
Okay.
The fuck.
Yes, my thoughts exactly.
Yeah, he beat me to it.
Are the house leaders still on the premises?
Yeah, they're right fucking over there. And he points. They're in the center of their own bodyguards in knots. Two of them are injured. He's like, can I send them up to the fucking hospital?
Yes, keep them under a watch of your enforcers and keep them separated.
He waves some of his enforcers. Four of them go over and collect the two injured house leaders, Lucia and Marcus. They're escorted upstairs alongside two of Trunchen's men who are unarmed but have their security keys to be able to get them up. The hospital suite inside the Citadel, none of you know this, but Piper does, is in the governor's level. So they're being taken up to be taken care of there. At which point Bo-Katan turns to the rest of you. Here's the fucking problem. New event starts fucking tomorrow. I don't know what the fuck's going on with the governorship. That dumbass, and he points to the corner, and Vulcan Ziggler has just walked in the door with the crown in his hands. He's like, he still wants to take that shit to the fucking governor. And I don't know who the fuck did this. Also, I'm not qualified to do this because there's an inquisitorial presence. So congratulations. You got to figure out who the fuck did this. You got about, 4 hours.
Well, then sequester Roberto Vance for questioning.
All right, jerk off. You're going upstairs. And he just gestures to Roberto Vance, and Vance is there. His enforcers do have two of the assassins who were taken alive. They're handed over by the troops, already being taken up to isolation cells. So he'll relay that. The shooter who shot Gazzy was taken down by Cologne guards, and the shooter who tagged Lucia was taken down by Maximilian. There's been some light damage to the person's throat, but they are still alive.
Okay.
They've both been locked up as well.
Good, yeah. At this point, Seth will look to Nero and say, Interrogator, shall we begin?
And I'll just run both my hands back through my hair, vaguely shaking hands, and look at Seth and say, yeah, I guess it's going to be about that time, isn't it?
Yes. Someone go and get Piper. We have a heist to win.
At which point, Vulcan Ziggler steps forward and is like, I would like to return this crown to the governor. No matter what has occurred, succession must be arranged. Where is the governor?
And I'll turn to Truncheon to make sure that he's on side with this and kind of like, you want me to handle this.
Truncheon will just give you a nod.
I'll turn back around and say, hey, hi. Sorry, things have obviously gotten a little bit out of hand here, but you're right. Well, you've got the crown, and you deserve a chance to deliver it. It's kind of weird because I'm technically your opponent, but and I'll pull out as always, just pull out my rosette and be like, but I value this. What this stands for above, most things. And what this here means is that it's my job to make sure this goes off without a hitch. Quite frankly, as the champion of the previous round, I'll throw to the rest of the room and then slip back in my shirt. I'll be like, What that means is I take it as my personal duty to make sure that we help you get that crown that you've won into the hands of Rancid. So you just hang tight, and I'm going to talk to my buddy Truncheon here. We're going to get you sorted out. There's been some shootings. There's been some you hang on to it. Hang on to it. You obviously it's in your hands, right? No one's going to take that away from you. Let us see what the state of the governor is, and we'll get him down here just as fast as we can. All right? Does that work for you?
Understood.
And I'll pull the rosette back out, and like he says that, I was like, great. Thank you for your service. And I'll turn back around and say, hey, Truncheon, listen. So obviously things have gone a little bit pear-shaped here today. I know he doesn't look it, but my boy Seth here is actually a medical whiz. He did those eyes himself, I think, maybe. Anyway, he has to take care of them and keep them up. Also, we've got a mechanicus who's very handy. Let us go take a look at the governor. Let him and we'll send my buddy Ignatius, two of them. Let them go take a look at the governor. Make sure he's okay. They've got good Medicaid. They'll take care of him. They can bring him down here. We can hand over the crown. That's just one thing off our plate. Then we can focus on our investigation, you and I, right?
Okay, yeah. Permission to shoot everyone who's stuck in this fucking hall.
Wait, I'm sorry. You just want to shoot everyone who's stuck in the hall? No, not yet. Not yet. Maybe, though. Maybe. I like where your head's at. For now, you keep them here. You keep them safe. But look, and I'll lean in and I'll be like, there's one thing I know. It's that sometimes there's more information out there. And, if we just shoot them all that information's just gone, And if someone else is going to try and pull, if there's going to be a house war, we're going to want to know who's going to start it, right?
Okay, yeah. Preemptive strike. I'll do it.
Great. But I promise you, when there's time for shooting, you get all the shooting in you want, all right?
Okay.
Yep.
And he will, because he doesn't trust this crowd, but he knows you're all on the Inquisition team and you were working with the house, he will give Seth his master key to allow Seth to be able to take the elevator up or down. So you'll have access to wherever you need to go as a party.
Great.
So the situation, just to sum it up quickly so you all know exactly what's going on, the enforcers are holding all of the party guests in this room. Mm-hmm. The bodies are being taken upstairs, where prisoners are also being held and the house leaders are being treated. So essentially this will be stasis, but you can pull people out of here if you need to at some point. All the important people are upstairs. The building's locked down, so they can't leave. It's just wherever you want to go with this now. Piper is still dressed as the governor. Piper, I think you're becoming heavily confused as pain and panic come out of the elevator, where you don't know what's going on, but it's definitely unsettling. It's more than you would have expected for a distraction. What do you do?
Yeah. I think... Oh, man, I think not knowing what's going on, I think she's just going to keep playing the role.
Great. So Piper just stays drooling. And now back to the party. You have a moment to actually talk. Bo-Katan is operating his enforcer, so you're on the stage alone, away from where others can hear. Vulcan Ziggler is waiting in the hallway, along with his two armsmen and his Mechanicus servant. They're still armed because as members of the Navy, they have different rights than people who are on the ground. Also, they have no say or interest in this conflict over who's governor. They don't give a shit. As long as no aliens invade, they're doing great.
Right.
So they are waiting just to make sure they're not robbed. It's up to you where you want to
go. And Seth would just very discreetly discuss with Mina and Nero and just say, if we continue the plan and get him to hand the crown over to Piper, as far as he's concerned, he has succeeded and won the heist. It is then up to us to return the crown, and whether that be on the record or not. What I'm saying here is we can gain control of the narrative. Gazzy did point out it could be more useful to have Lucia Bain win this match. We would be tied with her.
That's what I'm thinking too.
It would be best if we held those cards, though. We can make that choice anytime. Yeah, so I say we proceed with the ruse and gain the crown, and then we will decide who won.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's. But you got to remember to field dress. I don't know if either you. I mean, you got sharp eyes, Seth. I don't know if either you saw where the governor got shot. But you got to field dress the governor to make sure that she looks the part. So make sure there's a wound and dress
Sister
it.
Mina, I assume you have enough experience with field dressing and Medicaid that this will not be an issue, yes?
Yes, I can do my very best. I've dressed a few wounds in my time.
Very good.
Mina, can you roll me a perception?
Mm-hmm.
Difficulty 2.
How many story points do we have?
You have 2.
Dang, perception's rough, huh?
Yeah,
Can't see when
She's
you got
not
the
cunning.
veil of faith
Not
over
cunning.
your eyes, you know?
that's
Yeah.
the problem. All right, so I'm going to use one of those story points to try
Okie
and
dokie.
save this. Okay. So 1 green, 1 yellow, 2 purple. 1 one advantage, 1 failure. I tried, but nope.
Advantage, you do know a lot about field dressings. Failure, you're not realizing that he's asking you to make the wound in a non-fatal way to Piper.
Oh. No, she didn't. She was just going to let's put wrappings over it and not actually wound her. That was her
true.
plan.
That's what you're going to do.
Yep.
Right.
Let's continue.
Okay.
Cool. So with all that in mind, I don't think Nero can go with you because I'm really worried about what happens to this room if the big ol' eye disappears. So I think I'm gonna stay back and basically just act as it's like in any of those cop movies where they get all the heist people and just get them on their knees, and then there's just that one cop who just wanders around and stares at things. Or the hostage taker doing the same thing. I'm just going to wander around and try and act as help reinforce the authority down here, but I don't think I'm of any use to you upstairs, and I'm really worried that everyone's just going to get shot down here.
Well, Seth will place a hand on your shoulder and say,
Sure.
The ruse is over for you, Nero. You can do the work of the Inquisition even here.
No, that's kind of the plan.
Statements, eyewitnesses, we'll need them.
I think I might also see if one of our Bites friends has any objection to punching Vance enough to get some blood, because that would really help us out, I think. But you're absolutely right, Seth. We'll get as much information as we can, make sure we get as many statements as we can, and really try and figure out what went down here, because I guarantee you this was not part of that fucking competition.
No, this was quite unexpected, and so I want you to understand the significance of what I'm about to say. I trust your methods. And then Seth turns around and walks away.
And I'll look after him with a tear in my eye. And just be just as he's walking away, just kind of somewhat quietly. And I think in a way that in our early days, we probably spoke more back when we were on slightly better terms. I'll just be like, oh yeah, in that case, thanks for taking care of all those cameras. And then I'll just kind of fully stand up, just pull out the rosette. And honestly, I don't feel like we need to role play in this, Ryan. This is just I'm going to spend some time doing that.
Great. Yeah, you're going to do literally interrogator shit.
Yeah, man.
And I will say, just for narrative purposes, Bo-Katan is sending for more enforcers to show up with the appropriate shackles and stuff to be able to keep the place safe. So you will be able to join upstairs eventually with confidence, because the enforcers aren't randomly going to shoot everybody. But it's smart to stay down now while there's people that may be hiding weapons and a lot of political strife in the room.
Sure.
So you'll be doing that. The rest of you, Seth, Mina, you go into the hallway to head upstairs. Do you bring Vulcan to do the exchange of the crown right away, or what is your plan?
We just need to make Piper look appropriate, and then I want to make that change as quick as possible. Get Vulcan out of here, and for us to secure the crown, and then we can decide what the final result is ourselves. We get to hold that power in terms of who won the heist.
Great. Cool. So I would say probably then you want to bring him up with you, but have him wait outside while you go in to prep the governor and then go ahead and bring him in.
That makes sense.
Yep, that makes sense.
Super. You have a long, probably for you two, awkward ride up the very long elevator. The armsmen are wearing helmets where you can't see their faces. The Mechanicus never reacts to anything, and Vulcan Ziggler stares straight ahead like a robot because Vulcan Ziggler is only here because Vulcan Ziggler has to be here.
Yeah.
So you just have a silent ride unless there's something you want to say to him.
I think Seth assumes a similar kind of look, but he is like visibly sweating is the only thing, right? Like he has that dead stare as well because of his implants and stuff like that. And he and like the nature of them scarring up his face, like he doesn't have a lot of facial movement, but he is like visibly sweating through that attack. So I think that's the only indication that he's cracking under the unexpected nature of what just happened.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
And I would say that Mina is like basically the same, forward facing. She's like feeling extra militant right now in this outfit, so she's very like stoic, put together, and in her mind this is going great, so she's not concerned. This is like better than it could have gone. You even got to shoot some people, so it all.
So the elevator arrives finally at the top floor. You exit alongside Vulcan, his armsman, and the Mechanicus. Vulcan and his armsman move like a triangle of people. It's with military precision at all times. Clearly, they've been heavily drilled, specifically for hallways and close quarter fighting, which would be typical for military, but they are especially sharp. And you can see, even as you walk, the armsman and Vulcan consider everything they can see an equal threat, including both of you, until this crown has been delivered. Anything could be a trap. You do close in on the door with Piper. What do you say to get Vulcan to stay behind while you go in?
Seth will just raise a hand here and say, due to the fluid nature of the situation, I hope you understand that, well, we just can't trust you 100% yet. Allow us to secure the governor, and we will present him to you when his safety is ensured.
Acceptable.
Thank you. We will return post-haste, and I'll turn around and head through the door.
If it was any other character, I'd make you roll, but he's a really logical guy, and this situation's fucked up. So yeah, he'd just agree. And both of you enter into the room. Piper, for the first time in probably an hour to an hour and a half, you have seen a live human who knows you are not just a potato sack full of blood. How do you go about preparing Piper, and what do you tell Piper?
Well, I think Mina is going to quickly be like, she has a med kit. She's going to be like jumping down there, moving some of the clothes aside, wrapping, like she's focusing on doing that because they only have so much time.
Yeah. Do I catch the gaff that we are dressing a non-existent wound?
I'm going to say no, just because the other role was her ability to keep track of that. Yeah, I think you are focused on getting Piper informed enough to be able to fake the coming scene, because whatever she doesn't know that the governor could blow this.
I think then that being in the presence of such overpowering militant discipline and authority is actually somewhat withering on Seth, just kind of given his background, and that he was acutely aware that like he was viewed as just as much of a threat as anyone else, kind of thing. And I think like survival instinct kind of kicked in, so he's not quite on his A game in terms of watching Mina dress a non-existent wound. But he does basically bring Piper up to speed with just like the key important strokes being like the mission started successfully. However, Warden has been compromised and his whereabouts are unknown. He would say that Skull Shield, what's her name? Her first name?
Jacinta Skull Shield.
That Jacinta Skull Shield ambushed him, thinking we were also on board. Excuse me. And that there was an assassination attempt tonight on at least 3 of the House Lords plus the current governor. And then he like points and says, "That means you." And then he gestures to what I'm assuming at this point is like a fairly well dressed bit of bandaging and all that stuff.
Piper, what are you thinking as you hear this story about an absolute shit fest downstairs?
Yeah. I mean, as I'm hearing, like, as Seth starts to tell the story, I'm just like, it's like I'm just so much incompetence that it's just like very frustrating. Very frustrating that I've like gone through all this only to be like fucking like wrapped. I don't. That it didn't even work. It's just like, yeah. And then when I hear that there's an assassination attempt, it's just like, wait, like someone's trying to kill Rancid Clone, and I'm about to go out into public as Rancid Cologne. So she's just kind of like, no. And of course she can't really talk. She's like, someone's gonna kill me. They're gonna kill me. They're gonna kill me.
No one's going to kill you, Piper. No one's going to kill you.
Someone's trying to kill us.
All of the shooters have been eliminated. This is just a formality.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Yes.
Seth
Are you
lies.
very sure?
All right, let's do a roll off here. Piper, what is your perception?
It's just straight cunning.
Okay, what is your cunning?
2.
All right, Seth, I need you to roll a deception roll with a difficulty of 2.
Got to take away these other boost and setbacks from.
I'm going to give you one setback because Piper knows you're a liar. But I will give you one boost because Mina agreed with you, and
I was
Mina
going to
is
say
not
I'm helping. I'm helping lie.
Yeah.
She probably believes that though.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's closer than I thought it would be. 1 success, 1 threat.
Piper, you believe what they say is true, and they think they've eliminated a threat, but you're also aware that there can always be another threat. It won't cripple you, but you're like, okay, they've given you the best intel you can get.
They're not actively, like, intentionally putting me in harm's way, but I'm still in harm's way.
Yeah, you're no longer afraid of, like, oh, they only got 5 of the 10, but we're getting the throne. It's different.
Yeah. Okay, then I just point to, well, I don't point to Mina. I kind of like try to like try and fail to raise my hand and just kind of like stare at Mina. I was like, fuck me. Fuck me.
Yes, that's my job. I will.
Right.
So
Piper,
Mina takes up a position over your shoulder. Seth, what do you do?
Yeah, just Piper, put on your best Rancid performance. Should only last a few moments. You're about to be presented with the governor's crown. And then I'll go to the door.
Piper, what do you do to prepare for this con that is ultra important and ultra dangerous?
Well, so in Piper's mind, like, in her mind is just racing, like, she wants to, like, say all these things, and if she could speak better, she actually would. But it's just, like, she knows she's an astropath. She knows she doesn't have, like, the longest lifespan, like, generally, like, she knows her days are numbered, and that's okay. She grew up on a death world. She probably wasn't going to make it past, like, 20 anyways. So it's been pretty good so far. At the same time, like, this is so not worth dying for. She fucking hates this shit. It didn't go the way she wanted. Not only is like the assassination attempt, fucking bomb, like, or near her head, next to her head. So she's thinking all that and realizing it's just like, there's no way she can communicate it. She can't do anything. So she just kind of slumps down even further than she is in resignation and just says,
Perfect.
And Seth opens the door and invites in Vulcan Ziggler, the man with the governor's throne, but also a plasma pistol, to see if you can fool him into thinking that you're the governor, who may or may not even be alive.
This episode of the Valentyne Heresy features Tom McGee at McGeeTD on Twitter as Interrogator Nero Abagnale, Laura Elizabeth at EL Hamstring on Twitter as Piper Fairley, Tyler Hewitt at Tyler_Hewitt on Twitter as Seth Corbyn, Del Borovic at Deltastic on Twitter as Sister Olianne Mina, and our Game Master Ryan LaPlante at the Ryan LaPlante on Twitter. This episode was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and the Valentyne Heresy's show logo was created by Decapitated Markers, at Decapitated Marker on Twitter, that's MRKR. Our theme song is The Hordes by Megan McDuffie, and our ads use the tracks No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR, provided by freemusicarchive.org. When it comes to Dum-Dums and Dice, you can visit our website at dumdumdice.com. Our Twitter and Instagram are at dumdumdice, and on Facebook at facebook.com/dumdumdice. We have merchandise available at redbubble.com/people/dumdumdice, and most importantly, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/dumdumdice. That's DUMBDICE. Ave Imperator, and death to all the heretics.
Dum-Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time: Christian Menicola, the Half-Blind Prophet, Christopher Little, Sue One, George Dolby, One True Artistry, Orion Birchfield, Lord of Borovic, Noel Lewis, Scott Garland, Anthony Griffin, Benjamin V, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Cade Peters, Richard Cranium, Anna Zed, Eric Williams, Logan Fire Unfriendly, Acrix, Cameron Ezel, Grandma Likes D&D, Alan, Austin Nut Powers Fry, Stabby Stranger, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.